1 Re 0, First POV. Being reincarnated, or rather transmigrated isn't something you would expect unless you are a die-hard otaku. That's what happened with me, in a way that I didn't expect. There was no mighty truck-kun who drove towards me while transforming into a giant mecha and yelling, "Get Isekai, bitch." Neither the legendary heaven-splitting chaos-creating thunder strike that transmigrated me to a world where mental maturity is a luxury. I didn't get regressed in time after dying to a betrayal from my friends. Neither did I reincarnate after falling asleep. I just stepped outside of my apartment to buy some mutton for the dinner, and the moment I blinked my eyes I was in the middle of the road. Problem: it isn't the road to the shop, but I found myself in the midst of a fantasy-setting medieval-type world's random street in the random capital you can find in any third-rate isekai. Okay, let's calm myself and think what the fuck went wrong. Suddenly I realized I had two sets of memories. In first I was basically myself and in second the person or rather me was named Natsuki Subaru. I got a chill as I realized what just happened to be. I have just transmigrated as history's one of the most gigachad, mentally sane, and realistic anime protagonist. The problem: I was not a bit ready for what comes next. I looked at the fountain behind me, and sat on the basin taking a deep breath. Fuck it. Who the fuck has the audacity to send me in this shithole of a world? My scream suddenly startled the people around me. Lizard men, demi-humans or just medieval humans wearing fantasy clothes, people murmured, some glared at me, and other just passed by. I started questioning my life choices. I just had got a job of 40 lakhs p.a. I was literally on cloud 9, I also had a family, an elder brother and a father. Now, I am here in a deep shithole. Should I be happy that I know the plot? So, what now? Staying beside Emilia means dying, and dying again. But not staying by them means abandoning them to their fate. If I weren't there to help their sorry asses, then Emilia will die, children of the village will die, Rem and Ram will die, village will be slaughtered, White Whale will win, Sin archbishops will continue slaughtering people. If I was purely Natsuki Subaru, I may have decided to go on with it. But my other self clearly screamed, fuck no. How the fuck I am supposed to go country destroying threats when possibly the only power I have is return by death, and a witch that is all yandere over me. Not to mention Rosewall has his book of wisdom and not doing according to his terms, means making an enemy out of him for absolutely no other reason than by simply existing. I looked at the ground in despair. I am going to die, aren't I muttered to myself. Whatever, if Emilia is to die, it isn't that her spirit daddy is going to let me live. I may very well become collateral damage until the SSS tier protagonist REINHARD slays him. Since that's the case, I will have to just try, till I make it. No lies, I felt bleak about my future, but I hope the Natsuki and me will be able to bear the future. I walked ahead to find an apple, or rather an appa store, or fruit store. Hey kid, wanna buy these appas? I promise they are sweet as sugar. The store owner praised his fruits and I sighed, sorry, but I am not in mood for some appa, though I will make sure to buy once I pass again. He looked a bit disappointed and then nodded. No need to tell him I am broke as heck. Finally, I arrived by the alley. So this is I said as I looked at the men in front of me. I entered the alley, very well knowing I can die. I just had to make sure I didn't. Hey kid, hand over all the money you have, said the one, probably named Gon or Chin. That's the problem, sir. You see I am broke as hell, no home, no food, no wife. You will probably earn more if you shift your target to someone else. Don't try to make a fool of us. Hand the stuff in your hand to us, the third one shouted. I charged forward with my fist. Natsuki Subaru's, or rather my current body while being weak by Re.0's standard, was athletic by Earth's standards. My fist landed on the goon's throat. He gasped for air as he fell back. The second one quickly took out a knife and slashed towards me. I dodged the slashes barely, thanking Natsuki's instincts when a girl with blonde hair landed in front of us. Seeing the goon confused, I charged forward and kicked at his groin. He yelled in pain and I snatched the knife from him. Whatever. You guys continue, Felt said as she jumped and ran away. Now only the last one was left. He looked at me seriously. You bah. I charged forward with the intent to stab him when someone kicked at my leg, and I fell down. No, I screamed inside my mind desperately. However, it was late. The third one snatched the dropped knife and stabbed me, again and again, again and again. By the time he stopped, life started fading my eyes. Deserved it, bastard, one of them said. The pain was too much, an intense burning sensation filled my body where it was stabbed. What's happening here? She was too late, she arrived late, and I died. Natsuki Subaru was dead. Asterisk 2, comma, where was I? I had no idea. A dark fog had covered entire place. I had no hands, no legs, no body. All was there my consciousness. Suddenly I heard a whisper in the dark, a chill ran down my spine, even if I had no spine to speak of. I love you, 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 I love you. Like a rhyme it kept repeating. From the dark fog came a figure of the woman. She started coming near me. An intense feeling filled me, as if she was the very meaning of my life, as if I wanted to touch her, I want to kiss her, I wanted to fuck her. Suddenly my mind snapped. She had reached near me, her lips brushed my nape. I looked down to see that I had a body now. Where was I? Shouldn't I have just returned by death now? I love you, 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 I love you. Fuck off, witch, I said, showing the middle finger, and next moment I was again in the middle of the street. What was that? Why the heck I met Witch of Envy? I had no guess, probably a deleted scene from the anime. Wait, Patelgu's got the treatment like this once. What was the name of the place again? So that's how dying feels, huh? This was terrifying. I shivered in desperation. I didn't want to die again. Last time, I made a mistake. Fuck SATELLAA. Wait, she might be happy if I do. I pause as I realize as my trauma coping mechanism is Subaru has already kicked in. I giggle while some people passing by me look at me weirdly before continuing on their path. This time I should prioritize meeting Amelia, I guess, I thought. So I continued on my way, passing by Appa's store again, stopping just before the alley. Hey bud, if you want to live, hand over all the money you have. Man, here we go again, I thought with a grunt. I remained outside of the alley. Suddenly one took knife and charged towards me. Fuck, can't I catch a break? I thought while dodging and twisting my arm, punching to his cheek. His mouth twisted the other way as I heard a cracking sound. He fell down with his 2 teeth falling from his mouth. I could feel pain in my hand, but the fact his teeth broke was totally unexpected. Isn't Subaru, aka I, supposed to be weak as hell? I thought in disbelief. How the heck he took gone so easily? Bastard, die. The thieves charged at me. I twisted my body dodging him and kicking him, making him tumble on the ground. The second one punched towards me. I crossed my arms, blocking the punch, then I swung my leg, kicking on his cheek, and making him fall on the ground. Wait, suddenly I heard a voice as the blonde, aka felt dashed by my left towards the slum while a white-haired half-elf came towards me. Sir. She stopped seeing the 3 people lying in front of the alley, in pain. Well, they tried to mug me, I shrugged. The boy isn't lying, Leah, came out the furry Puck, floating around her. I see, sir. Did you saw someone with blonde hair running this way? She asked me. My beginning has already been a bit different than what was supposed to be. I pondered on how should I tackle this. I do in fact, but let me ask, who are you? I mean, you can call me Zero. I gave her a fake name. Last thing I wanted to deal with was gluttony. They probably be my only arch nemesis. The furry cat narrowed his eyes slightly, while Amelia remained unaware for most of the part and instead asked, really? Then can you show me the way she ran off? She has stolen something very important from me. Well, she ran towards the slum. Anyway, what's your name? She seemed to hesitate for a moment before saying, Satella, my name is Satella. I left out a disappointed sigh, and said, it is not good to lie to your benefactor, right? She flinched and made a guilty expression while Puck huffed and moved in front of my face and said with a slight glare, says the man who gave a fake name. I smiled and replied, I have reason for it. You see, it is a safety precaution against witches' cult. Puck frowned, and said, you do speak truth. Still, my daughter has her own circumstances to not disclose her name to strangers. Stop it, Puck. I am sorry, Sir Zero, for lying. My name is Amelia. I felt a bit bad, but I needed to keep my name a secret. so when I eventually fight against gluttony, I can completely invalidate his authority. I can understand, you are a half-elf and world isn't kind to your people, however I can say with confidence that your race doesn't affect my attitude towards you at all, I said. Well, he speaks the truth. Anyway, Leah, we should continue with our search, now that we have a clue about the thief. Then let me search that thief with you. You see I am completely broke, so, I hope you can help me. I gave her a reason for why I wanted to help her. Suddenly she flinched and said, actually I don't have any money either. I looked at her deadpan. Even if I knew about it in advance, it still feels stupid. Whatever, since I have decided to help you, let's go with it. She hesitantly took up my offer to help her. We decided to head towards slum when we found a girl crying in middle of the street. Where are your parents? Did you get separated from them? Asked Amelia. She shrank back in fear, and however after I showed a trick that I learned as Subaru, she finally stopped crying. After some effort we managed to find her mother. To be continued. Another new FIC, and I have stocked like 30 chaps of this FIC. So let's fucking go. 30 comments 0 vote. 2 Old Man Rom. 3rd Pav. I am glad that we were able to find her mother. Amelia smiled as she looked at the girl waving to her. Because of her race she was generally disliked and hated by everyone, however Amelia is a kind-hearted woman and holds no resentment towards others for her treatment. Her wish is to free the frozen elves, and the only way she was told to achieve was by using dragon blood, which she can only use after becoming the ruler of the kingdom. Anyway, we should head to slums now, Subaru said, and she nodded. Soon they were in slums. Broken and dilapidated houses were everywhere. They asked for directions towards Rom's place. Some kids pointed the way for them and soon they reached there. Is it the place? Amelia looked at the wooden bar. As they knocked on the door, someone spoke. Tell me the password. Knock, knock Rom, knock knock. That's not the password. The gate opened revealing a bulky figure, standing at an impressive height if not for his hunchback-like style of walking. He had white strands of hair lining his eyebrow and was bald. Undoubtedly this man was Rom, who looked more scarier than in anime. So, you are Old Man Rom. I have seen you before but not met you until now, Subaru said. He grunted and looked at both of them. Why are you here? He questioned. Amelia stepped forward, her eyes resolute. I have come here to get my insignia, please return it. The Old Man Rom grunted and replied, I don't know about any insignia. Well Amelia, you remember what I told you, right? The person who has stolen it will come here, as this is the place for the dealership. We will wait until then, Subaru said. Amelia nodded, trusting him. They entered the bar. Old Rom sighed and thought, it would seem Felt's latest deal is going to fail. Soon the blonde-haired Felt returned. I am back, old man, wait. What are you doing here? She looked at Amelia with widened eyes. So, you are the one who stole my insignia. You must return it. Amelia spat. Puck came out of the crystal and said, as my daughter said. Return her insignia. Felt took a defensive stance and looked at Old Man Rom for help, who gave a look. You got in this mess, solve it yourself. He wanted to give her a lesson, however he was prepared to retaliate if things were to go south. Subaru meanwhile was wondering if they should leave with insignia. Now that I think, I should have called Reinhard, right? His face became pale and he cursed at his stupidity. The change in his expression didn't go unnoticed by everyone. Zero, are you okay? Are you feeling sick? Amelia asked him with visible worry. Just as Felt was about to take advantage of the situation and dash out, she heard a voice. My, it seems there are a lot of unwanted guests. Shit, Subaru cursed in his mind. Everyone run, she is the Bowel Hunter. He shouted. His words took a few seconds for them to register before everyone became shocked. Rom's face turned into one of pure horror. Kid, do you know what are you saying? He looked at the Elsa who revealed herself. The woman was a beauty to say the least, with purple eyes with a beauty mark below the left, an enchanting face, a voluptuous figure, while wearing an erotic strapless and backless dress. Even Subaru Natsuki, despite the situation he found himself, couldn't help but gulp his saliva seeing her beauty. No one said she was more beautiful than her anime counterpart. Fuck, something's rising and it is not Shield Hero. Subaru thought as he stepped back. It would seem I was exposed. No worries, I have never intended to let any of you live in the first place. She said, her face turned cold and she attacked. Puck quickly used his ice magic, firing projectiles at Elsa, who took out her 2 daggers and easily shattered the projectiles coming towards her. Reinhardt, Sword Saint, boy with a million divine protections, Odd Laguna's sugar boy. Come on, save us. Subaru quickly called out Reinhardt. However, to his despair, his call went unnoticed by the saint. Elsa meanwhile turned on guard hearing him calling out to the Sword Saint. However, seeing no one coming, she chuckled. It seems no one is going to save you. I wonder, how will your guts feel once I cut through them? Taking the advantage of her seemingly distracted, Old Man Rom grabbed a chair and smashed at her. Get out of here. However, Elsa simply slashed through the chair and in next second Old Man Rom's guts were open. The fuck, you felt, he said as he fell down on the floor, into a puddle of blood. No, Old Man Rom. Felt looked at her grandpa-like figure dying with despair. I will kill you. Felt took out her daggers and charged at Elsa. Her divine protection boosted her speed and within a blink of eyes she was in front of the Bowel Hunter. However, it was useless, as her head separated from her body falling beside Old Man Rom's body. Amelia became scared at the turn of the events. Subaru meanwhile clenched his fists. Am I supposed to hide behind her? Being a coward. But again, what else I can do? I am weak, I am pathetic. I never wanted to be here. It doesn't matter whether I am here or not, either by choice or not. I need to at least save Amelia. He knew even if he were to die it won't matter, but he didn't know if time was reversed or his actions created a parallel timeline. Since they were going to die, he needed to at least to make sure his death wasn't in vain. Amelia, I will hold her back. You run, he shouted, slowly coming in front of her. No, I cannot leave you to die. Amelia retorted. However, Subaru knew it was futile, instead he looked at her spirit daddy, Puck. If you don't want your daughter to die, get out of here, and get help. Puck frowned, he knew Subaru was telling the truth. His time was nearing the end, he needed to ensure Leah was safe, by hook or crook. Yes, he is telling for the best. I don't sense any lies or malicious intent, so we should do as he says, he thought. As for whether Zero dies or not, he didn't care, he only cared about his daughter. As long as she was safe the world could be damned. Leah, Zero is telling the truth. We need to leave. Of course not. If we leave him, who is going to save him? Subaru felt moved by her words, however he knew it was the time to speak this emotional dialogue. How rude of you, to ignore me, Elsa chuckled and charged towards them. Amelia, Natsuki or now Zero, pushed her away and soon he felt pain in his guts, literally. Fuck, he looked at the blood leaking from his gut, while Elsa was forced to step back by Amelia's magic attacks. Zero, she screamed in horror, she couldn't bear to see him die, even if they had just met today. Amelia, let's leave. Puck grew in size and grabbed her. Nope, Puck, don't. She tried to deny him, however, he forcefully took her while firing ice projectiles at Elsa, and flew away. He knew he was using a great amount of mana to do this, and had rarely ever done this. However, it was the matter of his daughter's life. Under Zero's despairing eyes they left. Oh disappointing, they left you to die, Elsa chuckled looking one last time at Zero before dashing outside. It hurts so much, why don't I just die real quick? Subaru Natsuki cried, tears spilled out of his eyes as his life slowly faded away. He wasn't going to lie that he was disappointed that Puck had abandoned him, even if it was for the best. Thus, with torn hope, Natsuki Subaru drew his last breath. Natsuki Subaru died for the second time. *4. To be continued. Please check out my other fics if you are new, also check out my new releases, Is It Wrong to Be an Elf in the Dungeon, and ReZero, The Great Sage. 18 comments 0 vote. 3 Can I Kill Her? Third POV. Back to starting point, Natsuki Subaru's face was pale. He barely held himself from throwing up. Why do I have to die again? He thought with unbridled anger. He wondered if he should have let Amelia die and escaped. This death was more painful than previous one, just because his consciousness lasted longer, his pain lasted longer. Nothing is more painful than dying slowly. A quick death is a mercy. He took a deep breath to calm his raging heart. If I were to follow everything that happened in previous loops then I will die again. The only way out of this situation is Reinhardt. He decided Amelia or not. His most important goal was to find Odd Lugana's sugar child and get his help. First, he decided to return to the same alley, his reason being that in the last loop of original timeline, Reinhard appeared there. Oh boys, see what we have got. A new prey. He was again met with the thieves. He quickly yelled, Reinhard, help me. The three thieves froze on their tracks and became defensive. Then they waited for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, nothing happened. Zero's face became red with anger, wondering if Reinhard has lost all of his divine protections. Trying to bluff your way out of this? Not a chance. One thief took out 2 knives and rushed towards him. Suddenly Zero dodged it, kicked in his legs making him falling. Let's get him. The other 2 tried to attack, but soon they found themselves wailing with pain on the ground, and their knives confiscated. Is it me? Or I am way stronger than before? Of course, I am stronger than before. Subaru thought. As he focused, he could see time slowing down for him. It was a very minute change, however he could notice it. His eyesight too was better, a lot better than before, his hearing was better as well, and if he focuses, he can feel his smelling to be better as well. His strength, his speed, everything about him was better. Is this another cheat? But I am supposed to only have returned by death, he thought with confusion. Suddenly he met with a realization, yes, as Natsuki Subaru I have returned by death, then this second ability must be because I am Ayan Ghosh. Whether Ayan Ghosh was a past life of Natsuki Subaru, or his souls have merged together to form his current self was questionable. How it happened was again a big question mark. He didn't have much time to debate about it, but now that he thinks it isn't far-fetched that whatever has transmigrated him might have given him another cheat. System. Golden finger. Aladdin's lamp, he thought in his mind, attempting to see if it works. System, he muttered, but he got no response. I don't have a system, so my cheat according to everything that has happened till now is getting stronger with each death. All my abilities and senses are increased after my death, he thought. As for how strong he got, or whether this ability was permanent or had any limits, he didn't know. He sighed and muttered, it doesn't matter, I still can't defeat her. My focus should be finding out Reinhard. So, he got into the mission, he started looking around and even asked people about Reinhard. But he got replies like this. Don't know. Why do you think I will know this Reinhard guy? Never seen him before. When he decided to be more specific and asked about Reinhard, who is Sword Saint, he received a look from people, as if he was stupid, and a harsh reply, fuck off. Damn it, I don't get it. Where is Reinhard? Don't tell me he is out of the capital, he said, and soon was taken with fear. Then what should I do? How will I defeat Elsa? If I don't stop her, she will kill Amelia and her spirit daddy will kill everyone. Suddenly an answer came to him. Can I kill her? He said to himself. He has grown stronger from his 2 deaths, now that he recalls he could remember himself to much stronger in the first loop as compared to when he had been killed by the thugs. His mouth became dry and he looked at the evening sunset. I don't have much time, let's see if I can do something. He ran towards Old Man Ram's place. Alas, this time due to him searching for Reinhard he was too late, and by the time he arrived he saw 3 corpses lying on the ground and the Bowel Hunter. You have seen this, thus I can only kill you, Elsa said before charging towards him. He narrowly dodged her first attack, taking her by surprise, and kicked her. However, she swung her dagger and separated his leg from his body. Ag! Natsuki screamed in pain as he fell on the floor, blood leaked out of his amputated leg. Fufu, what a delightful scream. I wonder how your guts color is. She gave a sadistic reply before calmly moving towards him with seductive steps. Please see someone guck. Zero's throat was cut by her dagger and next moment his guts. It hurts. It hurts. Please see. Someone. Save me. He cried in his mind, tears staining his cheek. Elsa licked her lips seeing him slowly dying, a euphoric look appeared in her face. Slowly, life faded from his eyes. Natsuki Subaru has died for the 3rd time. *8. To be continued. A.N. I am going to release short chaps for this FIC, as a FIC is fine as this is meant to savor slowly. Closing parenthesis. 17 comments 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. Acros_0. Download app now. 4. The sad smile bonus chap. 3rd Pav. Huff huff. Natsuki panted as he returned by death, again. What should I do? Just what should I do? He screamed internally. This time he again died slowly. If not for the fact that his throat was cut open, he would have died even more slowly. He was shaken by it, indeed shaken. Am I not supposed to be traumatized? I just have died 3 times. He thought. He again took a deep breath, and wondered what should he do. He tried to find REINHARD, however, he isn't here. Take help from some other knight. He shook his head. They will eat him alive before helping him. He knew that the current state of Lugunica wasn't good. Last thing he wanted to deal with was sadistic corrupt knights. First things first, let me test if I have gotten stronger, again he thought, and headed back to the alley where he is supposed to meet the thugs. Once he approached the alley, he again met the thugs. Oh boy, a lamb walking right into. His words were cut short as Subaru delivered a full-powered punch on his cheek. He spectacularly fell on the ground and coughed blood and some broken teeth. What? The second was about to take his knife when Subaru grabbed both of his hands and gave him a headbutt. Splurt. Blood shot out of his head as the thug started bleeding heavily while Subaru gritted his teeth in pain. The third thief, seeing his friends being dispatched easily, quickly screamed, "Spare me. I will give you my money." Subaru stopped and grinned just as thief was about to relax. He received a kick on his groin. Crack. His pant was covered with blood and he released a blood-wrenching scream before falling down. Subaru gave his signature mean eyes, before scooping the knives and money from them and then going on his way. Soon he reached Old Man Rom's building and knocked on the door. "Tell the code," he heard from inside. "Bowl Hunter is after you. If you don't want to die, then better let me in." There was silence. Subaru wondered if he would let him in, and then the door opened with Rom on guard holding a spiked club. "Better tell me what's your intention, otherwise you won't be making out alive," he threatened Subaru with a cold glare. "How about you let me in first?" Subaru responded, wondering to himself if he believed the threat or not. Rom grunted and let him in. Once they were seated on the chairs, he said, "Felt made deal with the Bowl Hunter to steal the insignia that indicates whether a person is a dragon priestess." Rom's face became pale hearing it and he said, "Her client is the infamous Bowl Hunter. Damn brat. I told her it was suspicious when someone was offering 10 holy coins for a mere insignia which shows the dragon priestess." He was enraged, and rightfully so. Felt had gotten them into very big trouble. Subaru couldn't help but share his feelings. If not for the fact that Subaru died several times to save Felt, she would have died a dog's death. "I am making an offer," Subaru said, garnering his attention, and then continued, "I will give you 20 holy coins. When Felt arrives here, she shall take the money and hand that insignia over to me, and then you two make a run for it, and so do I." Rom frowned and said, "I still don't believe you completely, however if you are offering me money, I guess I can believe in you." Subaru chuckled, seeing how money was solving things again. Soon Felt arrived and was surprised by Subaru's presence. "Old man, who is he?" she asked, curious. However, Rom was in hurry. "Listen Felt, that man is offering us 20 royal coins for the insignia. We take it and give him the insignia and quickly make a run for it." Felt realized something was wrong and she quickly asked, "Why?" "The client is the Bowl Hunter. I want to yell at you and want to explain everything, however the time is running out. We take 20 holy coins and make a run for it," he said. Felt was shocked. She wanted to question further, however seeing Rom's look she obediently handed the insignia to Subaru, who gave her the money. She checked it with relief and he nodded. "Very well, I shall leave. If I wait here any longer I fear she will be here." He quickly put the insignia in his pocket and left. He didn't care anymore what happened to Felt or Rom. His priority was to find Amelia and get out of the slums. As he walking, he saw a familiar figure and his eyes widened. "Damn it. It's Elsa." She moved her hips seductively as she walked, however it wasn't attractive at all, rather he felt fear. He tried to act normally and walk away. As he passed by her, he sighed in relief. "Stop." Suddenly he heard her voice and froze. She turned around and so did he, and he asked nervously, "Do you want something, miss?" "How interesting. I sense fear from you. But it's the first time I am meeting you, so care to enlighten me?" she asked with curiosity. A beautiful smile formed on her seductive lips. "You see, I have a bad history with beautiful women, so I can't help but fear you," Subaru replied. His brain worked faster, and he felt smarter and felt that the reply was best. Even in this pressure someone managed to utter a good reply. "Is that so? What an interesting man you are. Whatever, I have something to do, she said, deciding to ignore him. As relief took over Natsuki and he turned around, his face turned pale, he saw Amelia. Sir, have you seen a blonde girl? She had stolen my insignia, Amelia said, looking at him, then seeing his face pale she misunderstood it as the fact he was fearful because of her. Sorry, I won't disturb you, she bowed and decided to walk towards the place where some kids have guided her towards. Wait a minute, an insignia you say? Elsa turned around and looked at Elsa, whose eyes lit up and she nodded, yes. An insignia, that girl has stolen it from me. Elsa calmly took out her daggers intending to finish her, when Puck came out of the crystal and said, careful Leah. That woman wants to kill us. Kill us? Why? Amelia asked, distraught. She wondered if it was due to her appearance. I don't know and neither I care, she wants to hurt you. She will have to go through me, Puck said. Subaru meanwhile was in dilemma, in the end he gave up. Leave it, Puck's time is soon going to be over. He probably won't return till daytime. I can escape, he thought and started running away. However, he heard footsteps following him, he looked back to find it to be Elsa's. Why? He screamed in despair, since I have no choice but to fight. He turned around and took out his 2 knives. My wanting to fight with me. With 2 knives as well. Elsa licked her lips. She swung her dagger, Natsuki dodged then again, and again. Elsa became surprised seeing him dodging her attacks, even if it was casual ones. It seems you are not half bad. I need to get serious it seems, Elsa said, and her movements became a blur. Subaru could barely see her, and formed a cross with his hands only for them to be cut off. Next moments his guts were split open and he was drowning in his own puddle of blood. Amelia, he muttered and looked to find Puck grabbing Amelia and flying away despite her protests. He smiled, it was a sad smile. Yes, what did I expect? To her, I have never met her and I also ran away like a coward, he thought. But soon his thoughts took a turn, but is it wrong to not want to die? It hurts, he thought as his life slowly faded away. Natsuki Subaru has died for the 4th time. *16. To be continued. I am giving a bonus chap, however I want all of you to send your power stones to the FIC, is it wrong to be an elf in another world? As long as that FIC stays in top 30, I will upload 2 chaps daily. I will also upload the chap of the Demon God in Marvel shortly. Only by uniting our efforts we can beat also those translators. 29 comments 0 vote. 5 Reina van Astria. A portion of this chap was missing, so I had to delete this and re-upload it. 3rd Pav. You disappoint me, Reina, a voice cut through her heart. Wilhelm looked down at her granddaughter with wrath and hated, he slapped her. Reina looked in disbelief, a seething pain embraced her cheek. Her tears threatened to pour down. You monster, to steal your own grandmother's blessing. You killed her, you killed my Teresia, you vile demon spawn. Hearing the hurtful words spat by her grandfather, she stood alone. She looked around for comfort, for help. But all she was met with accusing glares, disappointed looks. She looked on the ground, her eyes devoid of light. Never show your face to me again, Wilhelm said one last time before turning around and leaving. She fell on the ground breaking into a crying mess, however her tears were ignored, her pleas were ignored. She was blamed for stealing her grandma's blessings in the middle of the battle against White Whale. From that day onwards her relationship with her family deteriorated. You defeated me, so easily, Heinkel looked at her in disbelief. Reina nodded, having accomplished something that she only dreamed of, looked at her father with eager eyes, wanting his praise, but all she got was a curse. You monster. She froze, wondering if she had heard it wrong. She looked at her father to see him looking with hatred, she trembled and fear took over her. Why? She asked, her heart was unable to bear his look. Why you ask? Why you ask, you filthy monster? He screamed, his voice stunned her, tears started pouring out of her eyes. He slapped her, however instead of her falling on the ground it was his hand which was hurt. You monster, you took away something that belonged to me. I was supposed to get the blessing. I was. Then because of you, my mother died. I doubt if it was because of you my wife got in coma as well. He spat, his every word cut through her and she became a sobbing mess. I apologize, please forgive me, she repeated again and again, however her words made Heinkel only colder. He had sparred her after drinking a lot of alcohol, and now in his current state his anger was magnified. He grabbed her by hair, and slapped her, again, and again, and again, until his hand was bleeding. For Reina, each slap broke her heart, even if it barely hurt her. See this. He showed his bleeding palm. You did this, you hurt me. You are but a monster. I regret that you are my daughter. He spat at her and left her alone. She laid on the ground frozen, her father's saliva reeking with alcohol on her face. That day, Reina van Astria lost her only support. Years passed by, however her relationship with her family only deteriorated. Due to Heinkel's and Wilhelm's habits, everyone started assuming it was Reina's fault, whether Theresia died or Luna got the Sleeping Beauty curse. Maids started mocking her at her behind, they snickered and cursed her for all the wrongs she had never done. Because of Reina's blessings, she of course knew what they spoke behind her back. It broke her, she wanted someone to save her, she was but a girl, burdened with responsibilities that were pushed on her. In the end, she became the strongest sword saint of Astria family in entire history. As the child loved by the world, she was granted countless divine protections by Odd Laguna. However, in the end she was but a sword saint. The girl Reina van Astria has died somewhere. Her gaze was always polite, however it was a mask that hid her pain. She didn't have any friends. In the original, because of REINHARD, Reina's male counterpart's different personality, he managed to preserve and even managed to get Felix and Julius as his friends. But Reina was a woman, so Felix and Julius being male didn't take the initiative to get close to her, and in the end she was labeled by them as monster as well. Of course they didn't meant harm by that, it was just Reina had a divine protection that granted her healing prowess surpassing Felix's and her strength utterly crushed Julius. Thus, there formed the sad girl known as Reina, who was only respected because she was sword saint. No one loved her for the girl she was, only because she was strongest knight in the kingdom, whose task was to accomplish things for the kingdom, whether good or bad. Today she was on patrol, despite it being her off day. People loved her, only because she was sword saint. No, they just loved the sword saint, the divine protection. The girl named Reina van Astria was utterly despised by everyone, no one loved her. However, to ensure at least her grandma's legacy isn't soiled, she tried to be the best knight. Thus, she was on patrol. Her face stoic, no one tried to start a conversation with her, why would they? They feared her, and admired her. Only the sword saint was admired. Every day is the same, she thought, her eyes dull, when she found a black-haired boy in the middle of the road. He was muttering something about dying and getting stronger, while holding a pouch of holy coins. She wondered if he was in trouble, and decided to check it out. "Excuse me, sir, are you in trouble?" she asked him as she reached near him. He turned towards her, a blush formed on his face before he looked away and coughed. Did he just blush? She thought, a spark blossomed in her eyes. "Sorry miss, I was just in middle of my thoughts anyway you." He looked at her with some similarity in his eyes. "Reina, my name is Reina and I am a knight," she said. She could deduce from his tongue and his hair that he wasn't from Lugunica, so she introduced herself. "Oh, so Miss Reina, how may I help you?" he said, a visible tint of red in his cheeks. "I found you muttering about dying. If you are in some trouble then let me know. As a knight it is my duty to help people," she said, while involuntarily her divine protections activated. "Help me?" He looked in dilemma, and then looked at her and sighed. "I won't lie, I need help," he said, and she nodded, expecting to ask him to help her. "But I refuse your help," he continued, taking her by surprise. "Why?" she asked, curious. Every time she had tried to help someone no one refused her, ever. "I mean, how can I put a girl like you in a danger? As of now my mind is free of guilt, but if I involve you in my shit, nope, I won't put a cute girl like you in danger," he said, and then blushed, realizing the last lines he said. She was stunned, and realized he didn't know her. He didn't know, she was the monster, the sword saint. "Damn it, my Natsuki," Subaru sighed, is too shameless. Natsuki cursed himself. Meanwhile Reina debated if she should tell him the truth. In the end she couldn't. She knew if she told him the truth, he will accept her help, spell out loving words, behind the mask of fear and disgust. "What is your name?" she finally asked, her eyes with a glint stared at him. "I can't give you my real name, I apologize, I really apologize," he said. Her eyes dimmed and he said, "But you can call me Zero." She nodded and spoke. Zero, so, Sir Zero. She froze. As she felt a warmth on her head, her heart started pounding. He was patting her, and the moment he realizes, he too froze. Fuck it, Natsuki Subaru. It's all your fault, he cursed himself. He could feel it. Something was wrong with her. It was as if she had given up the hope of living. His senses were keener, so he quickly realized it and involuntarily started patting her, as to lessen her sorrow. As he tried to withdraw his hands, she grabbed it, her eyes widened, realizing her mistake, and she quickly let go of him. I apologize, I don't know what came over me, he apologized. Why did you do that? She asked, her voice cold. Her froze and wondered if he was going to die again. In the end he spoke the truth. Well, you are very cute and I sensed you were sad, so I did it, he replied while preparing to regress. I am cute. Reina blinked her eyes innocently. He didn't call me monster. Joy erupted in her heart. However, it was soon replaced by sorrow. Of course he doesn't know I am the Sword Saint. If he knew, then he would have feared me. She knew majority of common people feared her because of her position, and the fact that she had been responsible for her grandma's death. Anyway, I should be on my way. Thank you for trying to help me, however this is something that I must do myself, Subaru said. To be continued. 19 comments 0 vote. 6 becoming Amelia's friend bonus chap. ... Third POV. Anyway, I should be on my way. Thank you for trying to help me, however this is something that I must do myself, Subaru said. She nodded and he left, however her heart wasn't at ease. Should I follow him? His words were nothing but genuine even when he called me cute. A blush came on her cheeks. She had heard him saying that he will most probably die if he is going to face her. As for who is her, she didn't know. He said he had gotten stronger and probably can take her on. She realized his life may be in danger, and not wanting him to die, she decided to follow him. Using her divine protection, she became invisible. Then she started walking behind him, following him. Suddenly, as he turned to an alley, he ran and quickly turned back towards her while holding a knife. He found me. Impossible, I am invisible. She thought, surprised. Then she heard, weird, I heard someone walking behind me, even if minutely, and my gut is screaming that someone is stalking me. Stalking. Now that I think about, she blushed hearing the accusation. However, she realized her mistake. She quickly used her divine protection that cancelled any noise made by her, whether breathing or her footsteps. She then used another divine blessing to make herself odorless, and then used her divine blessing of sixth sense cancellation, which erases any precognition of her by sixth sense. Natsuki thought his enhanced senses might have been playing with his mind, and continued on his way. As he reached slums, he finally encountered Amelia, who, seeing him, hesitated for a moment before asking, sir, have you seen a short girl with short blonde hair, ruby eyes and a red scarf? Are you talking about Felt? Hearing his words, her eyes lit up. She clenched her fists in excitement. She finally got a lead. Yes, I am talking about Felt, Amelia said while smiling like a child who had got his toffee. No, Subaru, don't laugh. Subaru held his laughter back, seeing how easily she believed him, and the fact that the thief was someone named Felt. Well, I can take you where she might be, however I would need a favor, he said, and she hesitated. Actually, I have no money with me, Amelia said, and Subaru gave her a dry look. Well, whatever, I am going there as well, so you can just follow me, he said, and her eyes lit up. Really, it won't be a problem if I follow you? She asked, wondering if he would judge her by her look and race. No problem, I am happy to help a cute girl as you. Natsuki shrugged. While Amelia froze hearing him say cute, Reina felt a tinge of jealousy rise up in her. Why he had to call her cute? She looks like the witch after all, Reina thought with sour mood. When he had said her cute earlier, she was feeling joyful, but for some reason seeing him call another girl cute made her feel angry. Angry at the girl. But then hope rose within her. Despite her appearance as the Witch of Envy, Satella, he calls her cute, so would he still call me cute, if he knows I am a monster? She thought, her breath hitched. Then she shook her head. Why, I am thinking of such stuff. It is literally the first time I have met him, but his hands were warm, she thought. She didn't know what was happening to her, but if others were to know that she fell in love simply because some called her cute, they would have been stunned. She didn't receive any love from her parents, everyone treated her as unwanted, her only use was to serve to the kingdom as the sword saint. To the kingdom it didn't matter how she felt, to them all she was a knight that needed to be a loyal dog. To others the feeling of Reina van Astria never mattered, they didn't even realize the fact that in the end she was but a girl. Unfortunately, her noble status made it impossible for commoners to be friends with her, and add the bad rumors about her. You get a girl who is extremely love-deprived, and as Natsuki became the first boy to shower her with warmth, even only a bit. She became what happened to original Natsuki with Amelia, however, it was just a bud yet to blossom. While she was debating with herself, Amelia looked at Subaru surprised. "I am a half-elf. Are you speaking the truth or lying?" she asked. Suddenly Puck came out of the crystal and said, "He wasn't lying, Leah, when he said that you were cute." Hearing his words she blushed. Amelia is Amelia, don't expect her to get falling for Mick when her brain is of a child. However, you cannot get close to my daughter without her father's permission," Puck argued. "She doesn't have a friend, right?" asked Subaru, and Puck became surprised. His eyes became cold while Amelia was hurt by his words. "So how about I become her first friend?" Subaru offered to her. "My friend? Really? But I am a half-elf. So, I don't judge people's personality from how they look. To me you are just a cute and lonely girl, who could use a friend like me," Subaru said. "Yeah, totally a friend who has to die for her several times," he thought dryly. "He speaks truth, Amelia." Puck's expression softened and he nodded as he looked at his daughter. Then, I am Amelia, a half-elf. I would like to be your friend, sir." She stopped realizing she didn't know his name. "I cannot tell my name, as it is a precaution against the disgusting witch cult, however you can call me Zero," he said, and she nodded. He stretched his hand towards her, and she grabbed it. He then did a handshake. While Amelia's face lit up, realizing she has made a friend. "Puck, I have made a friend." She looked at her self-proclaimed father with innocent eyes, who nodded. Puck knew that Zero had no bad intentions, however he was still on his guard. "I just hope you don't make my daughter cry otherwise." His eyes narrowed. Reina meanwhile felt even more jealous. She kicked on the ground angry. "I should have been the one to grab his hand," she thought, not realizing how absurd she was being. "Anyway, let me show you the way to Old Man Rom's place. That's where we will most probably found Felt and your insignia," he said, and she nodded. "I wonder if I will be able to save them this time," he thought and sighed. Amelia followed him to the Old Man Rom's place. They knocked on the door. "Tell the code." "Knock knock Rom." "Knock knock." "That's not the code." Old Man Rom opened the door with a grunt. "You see, we are here to get something that Felt has stolen," he said, and made way for Amelia, who stepped forward and looked at Rom. "I am here to get back my stolen insignia," Amelia said, and stepped inside. Felt, who was inside, became surprised seeing her. It's you. They both pointed at each other. Amelia said, "Give me back my insignia." "It's mine." "I won't. You should have taken a better care of it, miss." "I won't give the insignia back," Felt replied, and she took out her knife and took a defensive stance. "Old man, you shouldn't have let them in," she grunted, and Rom shrugged. As they argued, a voice cut through their debate. My, it seems you have failed," Elsa said as she stepped inside. Felt's eyes lit up seeing her. "I have the insignia as I promised, now give me the 10 holy coins." Amelia too became hostile towards Elsa. "I see, so you are the one who wanted my insignia. Tell me why you want my insignia." Subaru meanwhile took out his 2 knives, and without any hesitation charged at her. His movements a blur, he reached in front of her in 1/5 of a second and slashed with his knives. To be continued. Send all the power stones to my Danmachi FIC, or no updates for any of my FIC. And yes, it is not a request but an order. 13 comments, 0 vote. 7 falling in love. ... Third POV. Subaru meanwhile took out his 2 knives, and without any hesitation charged at her. His movements a blur as he reached in front of her in 1/5 of a second and slashed with his knives. Clang. The sound of metal collision sounded as his knives met her daggers. "How rude to interrupt me." She swung her daggers only for Natsuki to dodge them. "Zero, what are you doing?" Amelia was taken back by his sudden hostility towards Elsa. He said as he stepped back, "Idiots. She is the Bowel Hunter. If you want to live, then fight her with me." His words shocked them. "Bowel Hunter? No way," Felt said, refusing to believe his words. However, Elsa's next words revealed the truth. It seems I was exposed. I have never seen you before, so how do you know me? Elsa said, amused and curious. Felt and Rom's face became pale. Felt I told you not to take shady deals. Didn't I? Rom accused her. Old man, how the heck I am supposed to know she is the Bowel Hunter? Felt argued back. Idiots. If we don't take her together, she will kill us. Subaru shouted, shutting them up. Fine. Felt grumbled and Rom quickly ran towards the side, intending to grab his spiked club. Amelia, use your magic, he ordered, and the half-elf, who was in shock, recovered and replied, okay. Hey, don't order my daughter, Puck said as he appeared and launched ice projectiles at Elsa, who dodged with relative ease. Your strength is nothing special, just that of a trained knight. However, your speed is rather unusual. I wonder how your guts will look like. Elsa licked her lips as she eyed Subaru. The fight begins, with Amelia using ice projectiles on Elsa, Felt using her divine protection to boost her speed with wind, and attacking Elsa, Old Man Rom using his spiked clubs, and Subaru trying best to stay alive and not die. However, Elsa easily blocked Rom's club, and kicked him away. His figure flew away like a ragdoll, crashing against the wooden wall, and he was knocked out cold. Rom, Felt screamed seeing her grandpa-like figure crashing against the wall. She gritted her teeth and swung her knives as she reached her. However, Elsa blocked her attack and also Subaru's, who was simultaneously attacking her from left. She kicked Felt away and Subaru stepped back, dodging her attack by a hair's breadth. Your reactions and speed are impressive, despite your meager strength, Elsa commented. Elsa hadn't gone all out, otherwise Subaru and others would have died by now. El Huma. Amelia used her magic, forming multitude of ice spears and shooting them at Elsa, who easily deflected them using her draggers. It seems I should get serious, Elsa said as her expression became cold. She had enough fun tormenting them. Subaru's expression fell as he realized she just toying with her. His body started trembling. Would I have to die again? Just how many times? How many times I have to die so that I can defeat her? He thought with despair, not wanting to die again. Elsa suddenly charged at Subaru, breaking the sound barrier. Subaru could barely react, and just as he was about to die, Elsa's attacks were stopped on her track by bare hands. Huh, Subaru reacted and became surprised seeing the figure in front of him. She had striking long red hair, cascading down her back. She had shimmering blue eyes and a white complexion. Her face was beautiful and cute at the same time. She was none other than Reina van Astria. Oh, who you might be? Elsa asked as she stepped back. Her sixth sense was practically screaming at her to run away. I am Reina, a knight. And I won't let you hurt Sir Zero and his companions, she said, not knowing how unknightly she sounded. Reina. Elsa's eyes widened as she realized it was none other than the Sword Saint. Her grip over the hilt of her draggers became stronger. Reina, what are you doing here? She is Bowel Hunter and extremely dangerous, Subaru said in surprise. Reina looked at him and gave a smile. I am a knight, and it's my duty to protect you. Then she turned towards Elsa, who swung her dragger towards Amelia. Reina quickly intercepted the dragger as Elsa made a run for her life. However, the next moment Reina was behind her and she swung the sword that was still sheathed. Boom! Elsa's spine cracked as she was thrown away like a ragdoll, breaking through the wall of Rom's bar, and through the old houses. Fuck, she said as she coughed blood. Amelia and Subaru were too shocked by the scene. Who is she? She was able to KO the freaking Bowel Hunter, Subaru thought in shock, not recalling any red-haired female knight that powerful from the anime. Miss Reina, I am thankful you are here, Amelia breathed in relief, and so did Puck. Although they haven't met with her before, they knew about the famous Sword Saint. While Reina felt ashamed of her actions, as she was stuck ahem following Subaru, and when the Bowel Hunter appeared, she wondered if she should intervene. However, for some reason, she wanted to come up as a cute girl to Subaru, or rather as charming to him than a monster. So, she used her divine protection, which only signaled her to act when Subaru was in danger, and she heroically saved him. Did I do good? Should I have acted earlier? She thought in her mind. Miss Reina, you should finish Elsa, Subaru said as he recalled that Elsa was a cursed doll. Elsa. Reina tilted her head in confusion. I mean the Bowel Hunter, he said, and she realized, oh. Don't worry, with that hit she will die for sure, as she said, a figure charged out from the rubble and ran away at immense speed. Quote, 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 A.N. So embarrassing, she thought while blushing, although she could follow up Elsa. She didn't wanted the fight to escalate to the streets. She sighed in defeat, I failed to make a good impression of me. Meanwhile Natsuki chuckled, hey, at least I am alive, that's a plus, he thought. Thank you, girl, for saving my daughter. I was worried there for a second as my time is nearly up, Puck said, and she nodded. Amelia too nodded. As one of the royal candidates, I would like to express my gratitude to the Sword Saint. Suddenly Subaru's ears perked. Sword Saint. Reina trembled as she realized that Subaru didn't know her identity till now. Her expression fell. You don't know, Sir Zero. She is the Sword Saint of Lugunica, Reina van Astria. Amelia introduced Reina. Natsuki Subaru was left stunned. He froze on his place as Reina too froze in her place. She looked downwards, her body started trembling with fear. No wonder, he thought, shocked. He finally realized why Reinhardt didn't came to save him in his previous loop when he screamed for his help. No wonder people didn't recognize Reinhardt, as he never existed in this reality. No wonder why people called him to fuck off when he said he was looking for Reinhardt the Sword Saint. Because his boy Reinhardt has been gender bended into a cute girl. Reinhardt in this world is a chick. However, Reina misunderstood his expression in surprise, thinking he will now hate her, despise her, shun her, just like everyone, and her emotions flooded out. Suddenly he broke free from his daze and looked at panicked expression of Amelia, who was staring at Reina. She is crying. Why? He thought as he looked at the tears falling on the floor. He too panicked, and asked, why are crying? Because you know that I am a monster, she replied. He quickly went and hugged her, taking her by surprise. Never call yourself that, he reprimanded her. She was surprised again and asked, why? I am Monster Sniff, who stole my grandma's sniff blessings. You are no monster, Reina. It is not your fault that your grandmother died. It is the fault of that white whale and the witch cultists. If someone blames you, then they are hypocrite and fools, he said, breaking the hug. His black eyes stared at her blue eyes. Reina van Astria, I thank you for saving my life. You are my hero, not a monster. You are someone important to me. Her heart pounded, her breath hitched. As if an electric current ran through her body, she froze, her tears stopped pouring out. I am his hero, I am not a monster, she thought, feeling giddy. Joy took over her, immense joy. Her grief, years of abuse, everything was washed away. At this moment only the boy in front of her mattered. Reina van Astria had fallen in love. To be continued. A.N. Boy Riz, the champion of the world itself. Now he has a world-corrupting Yandere, and a world-destroying Yandere in his back. 31 comments, 0 vote. 8 accidental Yandere, bonus chap. Comma. Third Pav. Subaru took out his handkerchief and wiped away her tears. There you go, you look more beautiful with a smile than tears staining your cheek, Subaru said. Reina blushed. She felt butterflies in her stomach. For some reason she wanted to stay longer with him. Is this love? She asked herself. The very concept of love had become something foreign to her, but now she could remember it. The joy she felt when her father praised her, the happiness she remembered when her grandfather looked at her with kind eyes, the way her mother tended to her. The way her grandma loved her and cherished her, showering with affection. But then she lost it all, her mother, her grandmother, her father, her grandfather. She lost them all, and by the people who previously loved her, she was labeled as a monster. While she was going through character development, Amelia remained in the background silent. At first, seeing Reina crying, she was baffled, wondering why she was crying. After all, Reina was the strongest sword saint in history of Lugunica since the first sword saint. She was a literal walking god. Even Puck had said even if he were to fully unleash himself, he will still die by her attacks, probably just a single slash from her blade. What can make such a strong girl cry? Then, seeing how Subaru took the initiative to calm her down, she too felt relieved. She also wanted to intervene but decided to remain silent lest she does some mistake. She too had a problem. She wasn't an expert in talking with others, so she didn't want to make the situation worse, and so she let Zero handle it. Damn, stop flirting with each other and help me. Suddenly a voice broke their trance. They looked to find Felt embedded in the wooden wall, her figure hanging on the wall, with only her lower half visible. Let me help you. Amelia came forward, grabbed her body and started pulling her. Stop, stop, do you want to kill me? My skin is being grazed by the wooden splinters. Screamed Felt in pain, and Amelia stopped and said, I am sorry. Reina, who had recovered from her sudden traumatic outbreak, decided to help Felt. She came and punched, breaking the wooden wall into splinters. Felt's figure finally became free and she stood forward while bleeding. "You are injured. Let me help you with healing magic," Amelia said, and Felt replied, "Leave it. First let's check old man Ram." Her voice showed worry. Hearing that, Subaru came towards the collapsed table and wall, and saw Ram lying unconscious while bleeding from his forehead. "It seems he is bleeding, Amelia. It would seem he needs your healing magic," said Subaru. However, before Amelia can intervene, Reina came beside him. "No worries, Sir Zero. I have divine protection of the healing. I can heal him easily." She quickly used her blessing and a golden light erupted from her hands, covering Ram's body, healing him. While Subaru was surprised, since as far as he knew, REINHARD had no such divine protection. He didn't know that despite being gender-bended version of REINHARD, she was actually stronger than him. Seeing Ram being healed, Felt was relieved, and then Reina said, "Would you like to heal me your injuries as well, Miss Felt?" "Yes, I will. Wait a minute, how do you know my name?" She narrowed her eyes, as she realized if Reina had arrived when they were fighting, then she shouldn't have known her name. Only if she had arrived earlier, she would have known her name, but if she had arrived early, then why she didn't fight? In fact, she only intervened when Zero's life was in danger. It was as if others' life didn't matter to her. "It is a divine protection," she lied. She didn't want her image to be spoiled in front of Sir Zero. Meanwhile, Subaru's face became grim, knowing she had a divine protection that can reveal others' name. "Reina, can I ask for you something?" asked Subaru. Reina turned towards him and replied, "Yes. You can ask anything. Can you please not reveal my real name? It is a precaution against witch cult," he said. Sweat rolled down her back. "How do I tell? I have lied. Now that I think, if he were to ask his real name, I would have been in trouble," she thought, regretting lying. However, in the end, to save her image, she said, "I promise. I won't reveal your name to anyone." Subaru breathed in relief, while Puck said, "Yan, I am tired. Leah, you better ask your insignia back and meet up with Ram." Amelia yelped, "Yes, I almost forgot I came here to get my insignia. Thank you, Puck, for making me remember." Puck nodded and returned to her crystal, while Amelia turned towards Felt, who was being healed by Reina, and asked, "Miss Felt, can you return back my insignia? I promise I won't hold you accountable for it." Felt looked at Amelia guilty. "You see, forgive me for stealing your insignia. I have stolen it and you still helped and saved my life." Amelia smiled and replied, "No worries. In the end you are returning it, right?" Felt nodded and took out the insignia. As she took it out, the gem glowed, surprising Reina, who grabbed her hand. "Wait, why are you grabbing my hand?" asked Felt. Reina meanwhile stared at the glowing insignia and thought, "No doubt she is the fifth candidate, the one I was ordered to search for. If you look it carefully at the insignia, it's glowing. That indicates you are a dragon priestess," she replied. Her words took Felt by surprise. "Dragon priestess and me?" Subaru took the insignia from Felt's hand and its glow vanished. "Indeed, it seems you are correct, Reina." He handed it to Amelia, who once took the insignia, it started glowing again. "Wait, it means you are one of the dragon priestess." Felt pointed her finger at Amelia and looked at her with shock, who nodded. And I am as well." She pointed at herself in disbelief. "So, what now? I can't believe I am a dragon priestess, me. A gutter rat being one of the candidates for being the next ruler of this country. The notion itself is laughable," she said. Reina replied, "If you don't want to join the royal selection, then you don't need to." Her words took everyone, including Subaru, by surprise. Isn't Reina supposed to be a staunch supporter of Felt? I guess it must be because her personality is different from REINHARD. After all, she isn't REINHARD and he never cried, he thought. "What do you mean?" asked Felt, wondering if it was because she was gutter rat. "I was ordered to find the fifth candidate. However, if Miss Felt doesn't want to join the royal selection, I won't force it," she replied. Reina was just a tool for the kingdom, and after the recent events, she just didn't care about the orders anymore. Someone thought of her more than a tool, more than sword saint. She would rather be by his side than follow the rules made by people who treated her like trash. Felt was conflicted. She didn't know what to do. Suddenly Ram stood up, surprising Felt and Amelia. "Old man," Felt cried out and hugged him. Ram patted her back and looked at Reina. "Felt, I think this is your chance to do something big and get out of the slums." But I am a gutter rat. How can I hope to run the kingdom and become the next big thing? She asked. Yes, you are. However, this is an opportunity to not change your fate but also others. It on you what you want to do, he said. She got in deep thought, and after a while said, fine, I will become the 5th candidate for royal selection and turn this kingdom upside down. A grin appeared on her face. She looked at Reina and said, my answer is clear. I am taking part in this royal selection thingy. Tisk, Reina clicked her tongue, her workload had increased. Should I just not follow the orders and let her be? But that will damage my image in front of Lord Zero, she thought. In the end she decided to take her for now, and leave her on her own devices once she officially becomes the 5th candidate. Now that I think, I am currently homeless, and I need somewhere to stay over, he said. Reina's eyes lit up and she quickly said, how about it, Sir? No. Lord Zero, how about you stay over my mansion? I promise to give you the best treatment, and if you want, you can be my permanent guest. She continued. Subaru hesitated. Damn, if I were to go with Reina, I will be 100 times safer than with Amelia. I am pretty sure that blue-haired Oni will kill me, and that Stockholm-affected red Oni is no good news as well. However, he knew, if he left them to their fate, it might affect the development of the world badly. Ram will most probably die to the curse. Secondly, who knows what Roswell will cook? He absolutely cannot let that guy cook. Otherwise, he will be cooked. He sighed and said, I apologize, Miss Reina, but I think I will pass on your offer. Since I have helped Miss Amelia, it is her job to have me as guest, right? Indeed, I am also sure Roswell will reward you for helping me. You protected me after all, Amelia said with a smile. While Reina's face fell, she wanted to be close to him all the time. Should I secretly follow him? She wondered. However, Subaru's next words changed her mind. Also, Miss Reina, I thank you for everything you have done for me. If not for you, I know every one of us would have been dead. You are someone important, Miss Reina, so never belittle yourself, he said with a smile. She blushed, and when Subaru started patting her head, she melted in pure ecstasy. Meanwhile, Subaru sighed. I knew original Reinhardt's backstory was sad, but now that has happened with a girl, I wonder how she had been treated to call herself a monster. What he didn't knew, that he had created a Yandere. To be continued. 16 comments, 0 vote. 9 I want money, a lots of it actually. Comma. Third Pav. Yan, have we arrived? Asked Subaru as he looked outside of the window. On the other side of the carriage were seated Ram and Amelia. Ram was staring at him with unkind eyes. What's with that look? You are staring me as if I have killed your pet, he scoffed. Taking advantage of Miss Amelia's plight and then shamelessly taking credit of saving her. I guess your name Zero does suit you, she replied. Says the girl who lost the person whom she is supposed to look after and then let her nearly be killed by Bowel Hunter, he replied sarcastically. Ram's eyes narrowed and she glared at him. Not to be outdone, he too glared at her. Original Subaru might be simp for Amelia and with low self-esteem to bear Ram's insults. He isn't. The carriage suddenly came to an halt. Suddenly Amelia yawned and woke up from her sleep. Have we arrived? Ram opened the door and said, Yes, Miss Amelia, we have arrived. Sir Zero, let's go, I will show you the mansion, Amelia said as Subaru got down the carriage under Ram's unkind eyes. I will inform the Lord Rosewall of your and the guest's arrival, Ram said. Subaru looked at the mansion a bit surprised. Truly the world of rich is different. A middle-class person like me can never hope to compare with them. But then again, I have been transmigrated and summoned into a fantasy world. I can take advantage of my scientific knowledge and get rich in this world, he thought as Amelia showed her the way. Sir Zero, here is the guest room. You can rest here till the breakfast is ready, Amelia said. Okay, but first thing, stop calling me sir, it makes me feel older. Just call me Zero, he said, and she nodded with an excited expression. Finally, I have made friend. Her last doubts vanished. While Amelia left the place, Subaru finally got the time to relax. Finally, it has been too intense, he thought. He didn't even have the time to come terms with his transmigration. Undoubtedly Natsuki part of him helped in staying calm when he just got here. I will never be able to see my brother and father again. He let the thought sink in, and grief took over him. I was so scared, it was so painful, dying again, and again, he muttered as tears poured down from his eyes. After a few minutes of emotional chaos, he finally came to terms. I can't do anything now that I am here, other than to move one. I even don't know how I got here as Natsuki Subaru nonetheless, he thought. Now, let's see, I have RBD as Natsuki Subaru and other ability that I got probably due to being Ayan Ghosh, he thought. I have gotten stronger with each death, my strength, endurance, agility, senses, thinking speed, everything has increased, but by what amount? He questioned himself. He knew that his current body's strength was 60 kgs, and from his otaku knowledge OGs had reached 80 kgs after a lot of training. But his current strength, he doesn't know, however if he is to know it, then he can probably measure it by measuring his current strength and comparing it with the number of times he had died. Yes, my speed has increased the most. Or rather is most noticeable. I should first see how fast I am, he thought and decided to go to the mansion's garden. He came out of the room and started finding the way to the stairs from where he had come from. Suddenly he met someone, the psycho blue-haired Oni Rem. It seems you are the guest that Sister Ram has talked about, Rem said as she narrowed her eyes. She could smell the witch's scent from him, and it was extremely strong unlike anything she had smelled from the witch's cult before. Her eyes narrowed as she stared at him. Lord Rosewall has invited you to the breakfast. I will show you the way, respected guest, she said, her tone measured. I see then please show the way miss, he paused obviously hinting her to introduce herself. My name is Rem, the maid of Lord Rosewall and caretaker of Mather's mansion, she introduced herself. She then showed him the way to the dining room. Once he entered it, he was greeted by the sight of Amelia and Rosewall sitting on the chairs, while lavishing dishes were presented on the table. Good morning dear guest, I hope you had a wonderful time. Rosewall said. Subaru took a seat and said, you must Sir Rosewall right. I have heard a lot about you. Good things SS I presume? He asked with a glint in his eyes. Subaru smirked and replied, definitely. Zero, how about we start eating? I am quite hungry, Amelia asked and Zero nodded. Soon they had finished the food, and Subaru burped satisfied. Now, you helped Amelia find her insignia and saved hair from the Bowel Hunter RR. Sue, I have decided to reward you. Ask for anything, he said. Looking at the clown, not knowing what he is cooking in his mind, Subaru smirked and asked, anything? Rosewall nodded and said, anything. Very well, first thing I would like to make myself clear, I found her insignia and saved her from the Bowel Hunter, so I would like 2 favors, one big and one small, he said under the glare of Ram who muttered, shameless. However, due to his enhanced hearing he easily heard her and his eyebrows twitched as he glanced her. Very well, state them, Rosewall replied, not least bothered by it. First, I would like to get money, lots of it actually, he stated bluntly and Rosewall nodded. No problem, he said. Secondly, I would like to someone teach me how to read, write the language of Lugunica, and about the history of the world, he said. Rosewall glanced at Ram and nodded and replied, very well, it shall be Donnie. I hope you don't mind me staying guest for a few months until I can get on my foot. He asked Rosewall who replied, I don't mind however you said you have only YY to request SSS. Rosewall, I don't think having Zero for a few months as a guest would be any problem. Amelia said. If that's what you want, then let it be Sue, he said. Now last thing and no it's not a request but rather something about me, Subaru said garnering their attention. I may reek of witch's miasma and it's because I am cursed by the witch, he said shocking Ram and Amelia. While Rosewall's eyes got a glint, cursed you say? Puck came out and said, cursed by the witch you say? How interesting, he is speaking the truth Leah. Subaru breathed in relief realizing Puck identified his words as truth. Yeah, if it's not a curse then what is it? If he had said this when he had just transmigrated, then his words would have been a lie, as he considers return by death an enviable ability. However, after dying multiple times, he considers the ability a curse. Rather he considers his second ability a true blessing. I cannot speak of what is the curse, if I was to speak about it, either I or the listener will die, he revealed and silence permeated the room. You are cursed by the witch? Asked Rem with doubt however Puck confirmed it with narrowed eyes. He is not lying Leah, I can assure you that is a great spirit, said Puck. Well, I can just tell that the curse is equivalent to experiencing death dying again and again and again, he revealed with a slight pale face as he recalled his deaths and shivered. Amelia grabbed his palm with her hands and rubbed them to comfort him. experiencing dying again and again. What a vicious curse, Amelia said with a worried look on her face as she stared at Zero. Don't worry Zero, if you need help with anything I am here, Amelia further stated holding his hand. So Puuk, Rosewall looked at the spirit. Yup, it's true as well. In fact, everything he had said is true, Puck replied. How can we be sure that he isn't a filthy witch cultist? Rem suddenly yelled while glaring at Subaru. Rem, reprimanded Ram as she kicked at her foot. I apologize for my outburst. Rem quickly rectified herself and bowed towards her lord and Subaru hiding her glare. Are you then calling me a liar maid? Asked Puck with a glare and Rem shrunk. I can guarantee that everything he had spoken is nothing but true, Puck spat and Amelia nodded. Indeed Ram, don't you two dare treat Zero like a witch cultist. He is cursed by the filthy witch, and we should support him, instead of suspecting him, Amelia said. Rosewall nodded. Indeed, I trust Puck and his wardess. So Ram, treat Lord Zero as you would treat me. Hearing her words Ram became surprised and so did Rem. They bowed in unison and replied together, yes. Master. As for whether they will uphold their promise, only time will tell. To be continued. I have made another Compioni FIC, and it has 10k words. So tell me if I should upload it here. It is basically Subaru becoming Compioni before the fight with White Whale. It is OG Subaru and no system by the way. Harem of course, however its updates will be super slow if I upload it here, since I prefer this Subaru over the original. 25 comments 0 vote. 10 magic affinities bonus chap. ... Third POV. Subaru together with Amelia reached the garden, ready to test his abilities. Hey Amelia, it will be fine if I test my physical abilities? He asked and Amelia smiled. There is no problem Zero, though I guess Ram will complain, she chuckled. She will surely do, he added and they both laughed. Puck meanwhile thought, didn't he have just met Ram? Must be because of his earlier conversation with her. Anyway, let's see how fast I can run around the garden, Subaru said and got ready, then he dashed. Ground cracked slightly as his body became a blur, accelerating to an impressive speed as he circled around the entire garden of Mather's mansion in a few seconds. Whoa, your running speed is impressive, only the top elite knights have such speed, Puck commented, as Subaru was essentially running at 1/3 speed of sound. Satisfied with his test, he asked Amelia, how long it is from her to the entire circumference of the outer portion of the garden. Well, it is around 1670 Valian or roughly 1500 Shaku, she said. He didn't recognize the first measuring unit, however latter. He totally recognized it. It was Japanese unit for measuring length, thankfully due to his memories of Subaru he knows how much long it was. So roughly 450 meters, and I crossed that like what? In 5 to 6 seconds. Damn, I am faster than a bullet train. He thought shocked. He then tested his punching speed, and with each punch he created a small gust of wind, showing how strong and fast his attacks were. Thankfully my senses, thinking speed, reaction, body balance, and maybe even my flexibility has increased, otherwise even if I had such speed, it would have been useless he thought. His biggest improvement was speed or so he is thinking, what if my base abilities are multiplied by a certain amount each time I die? My vision is extremely good now. I can even see on faraway places and read what is written there. Amelia, is there any way that you can measure my speed? Or strength? In units? He asked Amelia who shook her head. No, I don't have any such methods. How about you Puck? Do you have any idea? She asked her furry father who spread his hands and said, I am pretty sure we will need Meteor to measure your strength and speed. I see, so no help here, huh? He sighed in defeat. Anyway, Amelia and Puck, can you two help me learn magic? He asked them and Amelia nodded. There is no problem I guess. If Leah is okay with it then as her father, I support her. Anyway, let's first check what magic affinity you have. Puck said and touched Subaru's head with his tail, and the area being touched glowed for a moment. Alright, I know your affinities, Puck said with a nod. What might be my affinities? Original Subaru just had a single affinity of Y and he thought and looked at Puck with nervousness and anticipation on his face. You have shadow and earth magic affinities, not to mention, I sense absurdly high spiritual affinity from you. Your gait and the amount of mana you possess is above average as well, decent if we go by the humans' terms, he said, surprising Subaru. I have shadow magic affinity as Subaru and Earth due to my second identity. He also noticed how Puck commented he had extremely high spiritual affinity. You said I have high spirit affinity? He asked curious, though he already knew Subaru had high affinity for spirits. Not just high, I mean absurdly high. Here I thought Leah's spirit affinity was the best, Puck replied. Okay, now that we know my spirit affinities, can you start with the magic lesson, sensei? He asked Puck, who nodded. Sure. Do you want to learn shadow or earth magic first? Shadow magic. He didn't even hesitate. Shadow or yin magic increased his survival chances exponentially. Then Puck continued with his lesson on magic. Apparently each type of magic has a prefix and suffix. Suffix of the magic was different for each attribute of magic, and prefix decided the power of the magic casted, which were L, O, and Al, in ascending order. The suffix for shadow or yin magic was shamik, and for earth magic it was dona. Magicians used their gate to use up their stored mana to release magic, while spirit arts user used spirits as a pseudo-gate and mana from their surroundings to use magic. However, it had a very strict requirement, which was spirit affinity. After learning everything, Subaru realized, does the amount of mana I possess, strength of my gate and spirit affinity too increases with each death? If that's the case, it is too broken. He didn't know he had hit the mark. Unknown to him, everything about him, if beneficial to him, doubled with each death. It must be the case, otherwise original Subaru's gate was weak as hell and the amount of mana he possessed wasn't great as well, he thought. Then finally he got ready to test his magic. Beginning with shamik, he imagined the flow of mana and muttered, "Shamik." A dark cloud manifested from his hands, spreading around. He controlled to not use excess mana and succeeded creating a fog that only covered him. Damn, I can't literally see, hear or smell. Even my sense of balance has been messed up. He thought, surprised by the potency of the spell. Very good, now try to dissolve the magic, Puck said, and Subaru followed his words. Soon the black fog had dissipated. We should try Dona somewhere else, preferably not in the garden, else Ram and Rem will be angry, Puck said, and Subaru nodded. He didn't need to give those sociopathic maids any reason for disliking him. If they dislike him despite his honesty, then it's their fault, not his. After thanking Amelia and Puck, he returned to the mansion, wanting to finally meet up with Betty, the lowly great spirit. Let's see which door it would be, he muttered, and after a moment he opened a door. Luckily enough, he found the forbidden library with Betty sitting on the chair. How rude to enter someone's library without permission, I suppose. Beatrice looked at him with a cold look. What is this place? I am pretty sure there isn't supposed to be a library here, he asked her. It is forbidden library and its location isn't fixed as it keeps shifting throughout the mansion, she explained. I see, can I come in? He asked, and she frowned. It's rude to disturb someone when they are reading. I guess, I will take my leave. Sorry for intruding then, he said, leaving the room. I guess that went better than what I had expected, he thought. He wanted to help Beatrice as he could empathize with her. Both Subaru and Ayan were loners, and Subaru had it worse with all the depression stuff. I will see how it goes. For now let's focus on the current threats, he decided. The current thing he needed to deal was with Rem and Ram. He didn't know what butterfly effects there might be as well. He sighed and decided to visit Ram to get her tutor him. To be continued. Guys, there is a guy who for some reason is after me, and wants to prove I am wrong. It is in the review section of the Demon God in Marvel. Ironically, he is the same guy, who gives his character breasts and a dick, with an overpowered system. He is ranting on how much I have nerfed my Marvel characters. I have given my points, but if you all are blind to see it, then there is not much I can do. In simple words, he is infringing my rights as an author. 16 comments, 0 vote. Re 0x Campioni to review. For some reason I cannot create a new story in webnovel, bruh. So I am uploading the first chap of that FIC here. This is only for review purposes. Third POV. On the first day, when Natsuki Subaru got teleported into another world, he thought adventure and romance will wait him. However, all waited him a world full of despair. He died several times trying to save Amelia and only succeeded when REINHARD intervened. After that he got to mansion where he died another few times, killed by the people whom he thought friends. He could still remember her look of disgust and hatred as she swung her morning star on him, while shouting, "Die filthy witch cultist." Yet somehow through all that despair, he carried through and finally saved the village and befriended Rem. The best part. She fell in love with him. When he thought that things were finally getting better for him, finally he could be of some use, and then he went to the royal capital, his worst decision ever. There he stood for Amelia only to be humiliated and only for his efforts to be denied for all of the efforts he made. He was bitter and decided to get strong for real this time. However, he remained the pathetic weakling he was. Then he encountered the witch cult. Everyone in the Arlem village, Ram and Petra were slaughtered. Then after that shock he went almost insane and seeing Rem being killed horribly by the Archbishop of Sloth. At that moment he vowed to kill him. However, knowing the weakling he was, he decided to beg the 3 candidates to help him. The result, he was denied any help. Even when he was ready to put all of his dignity in gutter, he was humiliated and then used by the 3rd candidate for some measly info before getting discarded. He still carried on, found some help, yet they encountered another calamity on their path, the white whale, and it finally broke him. In the end he decided to run away with Rem and persuaded her to leave with her. Yet she denied him and was about to encourage him, her words which would have resulted him to make an alliance between the 3 camps. Before she could say anything, Subaru said, "Shut up. Leave me alone." She became silent. She wanted to persuade him, cheer him up, tell him how much he meant to her. However, the look on his face said it. Before she could say anything, Subaru spat, "Please leave me alone. Just please." She became silent as he cried, "I will talk with you later, I just need some time alone." In the end she accepted his decision, and that would change Natsuki Subaru's life forever. What he did next? He ran away. After purchasing a ground dragon from some meager funds he had, without packing anything he just ran away. He galloped the ground dragon towards an entirely different direction from the Arlem village. From all that despair, he galloped and galloped. If I run away, I don't have to encounter those monsters anymore. He thought. He was leaving Rem behind. He was leaving Ram and Amelia behind. Just how pathetic he was. He thought. Yet he was at his wit's end. Everything was my fault. Only if I hadn't met Amelia. If only I hadn't stayed in that cursed mansion. If only I was never teleported here. He thought with clenched fists. Only if he was never teleported to this world, he would have been free of this despair. Suddenly he felt wind becoming turbulent and he pulled the reins, stopping the ground dragon. A storm. He thought. However, in the end he didn't stop and hastened his pace. As if a storm could be worse than those monstrosities. He didn't know what he will do next. However, he thought it will be good if he goes to some remote village and spends his rest of life like the pathetic man he is. Suddenly, as if glass has been cracked, and a bomb has erupted. A sudden shockwave made him halt. What is that? His eyes widened, and fear took him as he saw the 2 figures on the skies. Suddenly their bodies became bigger, covering his vision. Yam Hi Hum, a figure whose body was slightly fat and had fair skin and was clad in clothes made of gold, said in a language that he knew from his previous world. The other figure, whose figure was slim and wore a robe, chuckled and said in English, "Yamraj. This time you shall die. Filthy Roman, die." The fat figure, or perhaps the one named Yamraj, roared and manifested a huge stick and swung it towards the second figure. The second figure vanished and appeared behind him, and space itself bended in his palm, manifesting a transparent pole. "What the fuck?" Subaru screamed, and as his words cut through the clash, both the gods stopped. "Ho ho, a mortal here? To think there will be humans in this unknown world," said the second figure. The first figure frowned and looked towards Subaru, who trembled in figure. "Mortal, why are you here? You should run unless you are here to try your luck and become a godslayer," he asked. "Godslayer," he muttered. However, despite the distance between them, both of them heard him. "Those who achieve the impossible act of slaying a god with their mortal body, become godslayers and are able to steal the god's authorities," the second figure said. "Mortal, you better leave. I am rather a kind god, so I am warning you. However, if you stay here, you will die," Yamraj warned for the last time before manifesting a noose. "Henceforth I shall fulfill my dharma and judge the sinner." The second figure snickered before chanting too. Subaru meanwhile was in shock. His hands trembled as his ground dragon shrieked. "Godslayer. If I become Godslayer, can I save them?" he muttered to himself, and as if something has awakened him, he clenched his fists. "What a joke. I am just a pathetic man, how can I slay gods?" He though berating himself, yet a feeling remained. "I don't want to lose again, I don't to see Rem die again, I don't want to suffer anymore, I don't want to remain pathetic man I am. He thought, and he clenched his fists. Finally, he looked at the two giant figures and attempted the most foolish thing of his entire life. Challenging a god. Boom, he was blasted into gore the next moment from a shockwave. Natsuki Subaru gasped as he looked around. My save point has been updated. It is just before I encountered those gods. He then thought what happened and snickered to himself, what a foolish thought. How can someone like me ever hope to slay a god? I should just run away like the loser I am, he thought, and turned around, yet he couldn't pull the reins. Why can't I pull the reins? Why I still have this stupid idea of slaying the god and usurping their authorities? He thought. I don't want to die. 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 I don't want to lose. Yes, he finally realized, he didn't want to die, but more so he didn't want to lose. He wanted to see Rem survive, see her smile. I got angry on her, and even said her to leave me alone, while running away like a loser. He said as tears poured down his cheek. I don't want to die, but more than that, I don't want to lose, he said, and turned around looking at the two hulking figures that had appeared and were clashing against each other. He grabbed his chest and clenched it with angry eyes. I have RBD, I can find a way, I will have to find a way. He thought. It wasn't Rem that gave him hope in this timeline. It was his pride that was almost shattered, it wanted to show everyone how wrong they were. It was his sloth, which refused to take the hard route of watching them die. It was his gluttony, which wanted to devour the joy of his enemies. It was his greed, which wanted him to gain more power, the power of a god. It was his wrath, which he wanted to unleash upon his enemies. It was his lust, which refused to watch the woman he loved die. It was his envy, which envied those who had power, those who could have helped him. In the end he had made his decision. First things, I will need to gather information. Seeing how those gods stopped in the middle of battle just to warn me, tells that they are rather kind or foolish gods, he thought. However, kind or not, they will be his prey. He finally pulled the reins and the ground dragon carried him towards the class. Stop, he shouted, and both of them stopped, though not before creating some distance between them. Immortal, you said this world will be free of humans. Yamraj grunted while the second figure said, I was willing to go to another world, so we don't harm humans. Who are you to accuse me? Listen to me, he shouted, and they looked at him. Who are you both? I know you are gods, but, they both chuckled. I am god of death. Yamraj, the first figure, completely cladded in gold on his upper half and wearing a dhoti on his lower half, replied. I am god of beginnings, gates, transition, time, passages, space, and endings. Janus, the second figure, introduced himself. Subaru quickly realized who they were, thankfully due to his vast mythological knowledge. Former was Hindu god of death and judge of hell. The latter was a Roman god. However, why they were both fighting and why the fuck two gods from different mythology even interacted, he didn't know. However, he could infer they were from a different world considering their words. Subaru soon acted on his plan. However, realizing he was trying to kill them, Yamraj swung his stick and shattered his body into gore. Subaru didn't give up. During his third life he finally found something that was capable of harming those gods. It was shards of space from Janus' spear. The very fact that space itself was torn apart showed the prowess of the two gods. However, the moment he touched the space, his skin burned and melted, leaving him with agonizing pain, yet he gritted his teeth and threw it towards the both entities. Logically it hit them both and pierced their skin. However, it was unable to kill them, and Janus stabbed his spear and created a big hole on his body, tearing it into two. Fourth, fifth, sixth, and finally seventh time, he had died 6 times, and now during his 7th time he formed a plan. Oh, mighty gods, your wrath shall consume this fragile world. Please have mercy, he said. I understand, mortal. However, I have to kill this filth, said Yamraj. Janus rolled his eyes and said, yeah, this fat man has to die. Subaru knelt and said, then please, O might beings, use your weapons to fight, however do not unleash your divine authorities. Both of their eyes lit up. Indeed, if we both were to fight with our sheer strength it could give a better result. Are you so foolish to follow the words of a mortal? Janus snickered. However, Yamraj laughed. You are so scared to fight me like a man? Yamraj said, and Janus roared, fine. I shall take you in. Then they started fighting using their weapons. Subaru quickly got on top of a nearby small hill and watched their fight carefully. His palms seethed with pain as he secretly grabbed 2 broken pieces of space shards. Now all was left was to wait till the loop where both gods almost kill each other and he reaps their life. He knew perhaps he would have to die more times, but Subaru wasn't willing to stop now. He finally saw victory in his sight. Ah! Suddenly Yamraj's chest was pierced by the spatial spear. He roared and pierced Janus' heart with his stick. This is the time, Subaru thought. He didn't think he would be this lucky to have the chance on the first try. He quickly ran and jumped off the cliff, and silently threw both the shards at 2 gods. He fell on the ground, and his bones broke, however his shards successfully pierced both the gods. Subaru turned himself, barely breathing, and blood dripped from his head, when he heard the laughter of both the gods. Mortal, rejoice, for you have slain the god of death, judge of hell. Yamraj said as his figure started vanishing. To kill 2 gods at once, you did take advantage of our kindness. Other gods would have obliterated you the moment you have came near them, but still. You have become a god slayer. Both of them wished Subaru well before vanishing. Subaru's became unconscious. When Subaru opened his eyes, he was on someone's lap. He opened his eyes to see a woman with violet hair, and blue eyes looking at him with affection. Fufu, to think I will have a child from another world. Truly a blessing, she said as she gently patted his head. Subaru jumped off from her lap and said, where I am. Oh, how rude, you will make your mommy cry, she said, making a sad expression when Subaru remembered his act of slaying the gods. Wait, I slayed those gods, he said, and Pandora chuckled. Yes, even though you did take a bit of advantage of them, considering you were just a mortal before, I shall make you my 7th child and the 7th god slayer. Who are you? Subaru finally asked. I am a true god. Pandora, the mother of all Campions, are the god slayers. This also makes you the bastard children of my husband, Epimetheus. All those who have achieved the impossible act of slaying a god with a mortal body are reborn as my children, and as god slayer, she said. Subaru was stunned. He looked at her and saw how beautiful she was. A goddess, otherworld, overpowered abilities, he muttered before he came to a realization. Is this the cliché Isekai? Am I finally getting my powers? He said, and his eyes became moist. Finally, I won't have to die meaningless deaths anymore. He cried, and suddenly Pandora came and hugged him. He tried to break from her arms when she hugged him tighter and patted his back. Shush, let it all out, son. The moment she called him son, he broke and cried loudly. He told her all he experienced. He told her the experiences of dying, of being betrayed, of being forgotten, of being discarded. Thank you for listening to me while I was crying like a baby, he thanked her. To think they have the audacity to do that to my child. But don't worry, from now onwards your entire destiny has changed, she said with a smile. You truly are my most broken child. I wish I could have given you more authorities. Alas, I wouldn't be a fair mother if I were to do that, she said with regret. Divine authorities, isn't that the power of gods? He asked. He still wasn't clear about gods and their abilities, even if he had realized it was their trump cards. Indeed, I see you are rather devoid of any knowledge on this matter. As your mother I shall fill you in. She then continued to tell him about heretic gods, campioni, divine authorities, and stuff about her world, pointing out Natsuki's previous Earth was a parallel world of hers. This is a lot to take in, he said truthfully. He now realized what it meant to be a god slayer. No need to hurry, I can slowly explain you all you want, she said softly, caressing his cheek. After a moment he asked, Pandora, can you tell me who sent me to another world? He did have an idea, but he still didn't know why he was sent to another world in the first place. Pandora said, only on one condition, you have to call me mother, mom, mommy, whatever you prefer. Hearing her words he sighed and said, please mommy. Pandora shivered in excitement, and flashed a wide smile. The one that summoned you to the other world is Witch of Envy and Satella. Wait, aren't they the same being? She shook her head, seeing his confusion. From the memories of world that I gathered, Witch of Envy and Satella are 2 personalities inhabiting the same body. For some reason they love you, she said. Love me, that's it. I am loved by the devil itself. Why did my life turn out to be like some third-rate romance story out of nowhere? He grunted. I couldn't see the memories of past. Odd Laguna is quite restrictive of it. However, you do possess an ability rivaling divine authorities, she said. It is RBD, isn't it? Yes, return by death. It is an ability that surpasses most of the divine authorities in existence. It erases the present and sends you to the past to a certain save point, and it can even affect the entire Earth, my world, she said, shocking him. She gave you these powers so you could live without regrets. However, Witch of Envy doesn't want others to know of your ability, so she stops you when you try to reveal it and kills anyone who discovers it, she said. I see, he said. I found another thing from the memories of the world. Apparently you are a great sage candidate, she revealed. Great sage? Isn't she one of the 3 heroes who sealed Satella? Am I her successor? He was baffled. He didn't even think he will have such a hidden ability. Pandora then went on to explain him about the authorities of sin, and how he is a great sage. By the end, Subaru had a bitter smile on his face. So, the path to get stronger was always in front of me. I just had to slay those filthy archbishops of sin and take their authorities. He punched on the ground. Son, don't worry. Now you are a godslayer, you can even kill that sword saint, REINHARD, she said softly. However, Subaru was shocked beyond measure. I can kill REINHARD? Is that even possible? He asked in disbelief. Yes, for starters, other than the 10 great swords and divine dragon Volcanica in your world, no weapon or person is capable of even harming you. Same with the magic, your magic resistance nullifies all the magic that isn't godly, she said. Damn, but how can I kill REINHARD? He has the strongest sword and bullshit cheats. He complained. Yes, however, both divine authorities and sin authorities are above divine protections. Despite his ability to resurrect, if you were to use your divine authority, Noose of Death, you will be able to bypass all his protections and kill him, she revealed. Damn, doesn't that mean I can kill anyone? Even gods? He smiled. However, she sighed. Subaru, you have 2 divine authorities, each gained from the 2 slain gods. However, the authority you gained from Yamraj, while invincible against those who lack divine authorities, it is powerless against those who possess them, she said. She then told him how the authority, Noose of Death, as according to legend can only claim the lives of mortals. Even if the said mortal has the ability to resurrect, as long as he isn't a god or god slayer, he will be instantly killed. Then, knowing that his second divine authority, which was of gates, through which he could teleport, was also no attack ability. So I am destined to be a support role, he said with twitching eyebrows. Don't worry, as long as you slay more gods and acquire their authorities, you will have serious attack capabilities, she comforted him, and he nodded. To be honest, I am not angry. I now have 2 divine authorities. You did say I can use the Noose of Death, in form of a whip, which gives wounds that doesn't heals. Not to mention my second authority lets me teleport instantly, and I can even create gates between 2 worlds once a day. Combine it with my RBD. I am unstoppable, he laughed. Good, being cheerful is necessary, she clapped. Say, Pandora, can I return back to Earth? My one, he asked, and she said, you authority can achieve that, however, since you don't have any coordinates of the world, it is very difficult. Subaru sighed, as I thought, as if everything could be easy. Don't worry, I will transfer my world's coordinates to your brain. Once you are free, you can come in my world to get stronger, she said. He nodded and grabbed his chin. I will, however, first I will save the village and kill that giant whale, and that sin archbishop of sloth. I am also planning to steal other authorities of sin, and get some offensive means before going to your world. The authorities of sin are quite powerful, they have no time or usage limits, and their powers depend entirely on the personality of their user. The best part is, they don't clash with divine authorities, and the divine authorities can even keep their negative effects in check, she said. I see, send me back and thank you for giving me a second chance, mother, he said, bowing. While Pandora was disappointed, he didn't call her mommy, she caressed his cheek. You are a god slayer now, a demon king. So never let your pride be hurt again, son, she kissed on his forehead. He nodded. He knew that he was now god slayer, and from what Pandora said, they were kings, true kings with power. Finally, he returned to his world and his reborn body. What a hectic day. Miklatov sighed as he sat on his chair, seeing the current affairs of the country, when he heard a knock on the door. Enter. What's the matter? He asked the guard, who said, Sir, I have received information from other wise men that Dragon Tablet has given a message. Miklatov was surprised and nodded. hurrying towards the room where the dragon tablet laid. Bordeaux, you are here, all of you are here too, he said, looking at the other wise men, however their expressions were filled with shock, disbelief, and fear. Miklatov, see what is written on the dragon tablet, he said with nervousness, and Miklatov looked at the tablet, his eyes widening. Natsuki Subaru had completed the impossible act of slaying gods. He had slain the god of death and god of time-space, henceforth usurping their divine authorities. This. Miklatov was shocked beyond any measure. Isn't Natsuki Subaru that boy who claimed to be the attendant of candidate Amelia? A sage asked, and Miklatov nodded. Indeed, but this news. He had slain gods, Bordeaux said in shock, thinking of the same boy who was said to be humiliated by Julius. Someone who was said to be utterly weak and pathetic, had now slain gods. In the world, gods were mysterious figure, some said they were just different aspects of Odd Laguna, the world itself, while others said they were beings who created the world. Very few gods had been actually verified, like god of death and god of sword, due to their divine protections, however they still remain a mystery, and now 2 of them had been slain. Is this a joke? God of death had been killed by a mortal. And it was that human who was beaten by Julius. A wise man said. The others too also started doubting the words of the dragon tablet, wondering if it was tampered. After all, to them it was much believable that Reinhard had slain gods than some random nobody who was weaker than a common knight. Is the dragon tablet tampered by someone? A sage proposed. No way. Dragon tablet has always received messages only from the divine dragon. To tamper it, someone must be way powerful than the divine dragon itself. Miklatov pointed out, shutting all of them. So that boy had really killed 2 gods, and usurped their divine authorities or whatsoever. A wise man said, horrified. We must call the sword saint and verify this news. Miklatov said, and everyone agreed. At this moment the entire future of Lugunica was uncertain. Meanwhile Subaru was checking his newfound abilities. He casually punched, unleashing a shockwave so powerful that it uprooted dozens of trees and created a small ravine on its path. This is my strength. Subaru was shocked. He had just punched casually, and realizing this was his current strength, he was baffled. Damn, at this rate I will punch people to death. He muttered out, horrified, and decided to test out. This time he tried to limit his power and punched. Not even a dent formed on the trunk of the tree. After a few more experiments he realized something. I see, my body works like what I want to. If I want my strength to be suppressed, it is easily suppressed to the level of a normal human. He breathed in relief, realizing that whatever he touches won't be casually destroyed. Then he checked his running speed, and he easily broke through the sound barrier. He was faster than sound, perhaps twice as fast as sound. He was somehow able to calculate the speed rugly. Next he checked out his jump height, and he was gobsmacked when he created a crater on the ground, jumping nearly 100 meters above. Fuck, he screamed in horror as he crashed on a rock, breaking it and coughed out dust. What, not a scratch? He checked himself, not finding a scratch. So I am really invincible to ungodly stuff, huh? He smiled in delight. Then he decided to check his authorities. First was the gate. It was divided into 3 stages. At first stage he can instantly teleport to anywhere in the world. It consumes his mana, however he can use it infinitely without any restrictions. He teleported a few dozen times, finding out that there was no change in his mana. Soon he realized the reason. He was regenerating mana faster than it was being used. He then tried the second stage. He created a gate in front of him, connecting 2 points in space through which he could go himself, and let others teleport as well. Finally, he didn't check the third stage, the Gate of the Worlds. He could use it once a day and it lets him travel to a random world, or a chosen world if he had the world's coordinates. He did have the Campion's worlds, and to be honest it was huge and complex. He wasn't able to understand it. Thankfully he didn't need to travel through the worlds. Then he checked his next authority, which he gained from Yamraj. It was the Noose of Death, or Whip of Death. He manifested a noose, which could transform into a whip. He had an instinctive mastery of the whip, and it grew longer up to 100 meters. From what he knew, the wounds given by the whip cannot be healed or undone. Then came the actual authority of death associated with the Noose of Death. After using a certain chant he can target anyone and the noose will grab the target's very soul, ignoring space-time, and pull it into purgatory where the soul is burned into nothing. It was OP, and he loved it. He could use it 3 times a day, or rather it had 3 uses each day, and if left unused it would stock infinitely. It also was a 2-sided authority, so it can both reap life and resurrect someone. Of course, only if they were immortal. Against heretic gods and godslayer it was a pretty much useless authority. Perhaps the whip can be used to inflict injuries on heretic gods and godslayers, but whether its property of being inflicting unhealable wounds work on them, he didn't know. Good, now that I have tested my cheats, it is time to return, he said and pulled the ground dragon and created a gate. Rem was getting worried about Subaru. It was evening and he had yet to return. Subaru-kun did ask to be left alone, but where is he? She muttered to herself when suddenly a gate appeared in the garden below. She was surprised and shocked and she quickly leapt off the window landing on the grass and warily looked at the gate. It opened and revealed a person and ground dragon. Subaru, she said in shock, surprised, and quickly ran towards him and hugged him. Subaru, what is that thing behind you? Suddenly Wilhelm and Felix came out, and looked at the gate behind Subaru surprised. Well, I will explain to you, later on, he said, his voice distant and cold. For now, Rem, would you come with me? He asked the blue-haired Oni, who nodded. I will go wherever you want me to. She had a lot of questions, however she decided to follow him. He smiled and patted her head. This is my Rem, the woman I love, he thought, and then his eyes saddened remembering about Amelia. Whatever, he decided to deal with the problems first, and feelings later. Wait a minute, you must explain what's going on. And are you really Natsuki Subaru? Wilhelm said, and Felix got on guard, while Crush followed by some knights came out. What's going on? And what is that gate? She asked when suddenly her instincts screamed. It was as if she was standing before a superior being. Her eyes widened as she looked at the source of this feeling. Natsuki Subaru, she said in shock as her hand went towards her hilt. Why are you all going so aggressive towards me? He instantly noticed their aggression towards him. Are you truly Natsuki Subaru? Because I am feeling danger from you, Wilhelm explained, grabbing his sword. Stop, this is truly Subaru-kun. His smell is the same. Rem got in front of Subaru in defensive position. At this moment Subaru felt as if he won life seeing Rem standing in front of him, in a defensive position. This, indeed the look on your eyes is the same. However, why I am getting this feeling? Sword Demon sheathed his sword, realizing it was truly Natsuki Subaru. I am indeed Natsuki Subaru, he said, and Crush too realized he was not lying. However, for now, I shall depart with Rem. If possible, I will explain to you this later on, he said, grabbing Rem's hand, and took her in a princess carry. Subaru-kun, this. She blushed seeing her position, however Subaru smiled and took her and the ground dragon, crossing the gate. The next moment the gate closed before their eyes, and disappeared out of thin years. What a jerk. Nya. To not even explain Miss Crush what's actually happened with him, Felix grunted in dissatisfaction. To her, Subaru was a patient who needed their help, and after getting so much help from her and Crush, he pulled a mysterious gate out of nowhere, and gave them a feeling as if they are looking at their death, and then walked away. Indeed, we must know what happened to him, Wilhelm said. As of him being secretly a powerful magician. Wasn't his gate broken by using a measly shamanic spell? That's why they had so many doubts in their mind. Subaru and Rem were transported to the place where the white whale would appear, by the Flugel's tree. Subaru-kun, can you let me down? Rem asked in a soft tone. Subaru smiled and let her down gently. He looked at her blue eyes and recalled every memory of her death. This time, even if gods want to kill you, I will slaughter them, he thought as he grabbed her cheek, caressing it gently. Say, Rem, will you forgive me? He said, and she looked at him confused. Actually, I have an ability, I cannot tell what it is, however through it I knew we would encounter the white whale and Arlem village will be attacked by witch cultists. Everyone, including you, was supposed to die, he said. She looked at him shocked. She knew he was hiding something, but this. I tried to find way to save everyone. Maybe you don't understand what I am talking about, but I was denied. Crush didn't believe in my words. Priscilla humiliated me and threw me out. As for Anastasia, she used me to get some info before leaving me helpless. His words struck. I tried, I really tried, but everyone just kept dying. I was out of options. I didn't want to die. I didn't want any of us to die, he revealed, and she silently listened to him. When you denied to run away with me, I was hopeless, I told you to leave me alone, however I actually ran away, like a pathetic loser. At that moment Rem put her fingers on his lips. Subaru-kun, you must be really in pain, forgive me for not realizing your suffering earlier, she said, and Subaru grabbed her palm. Rem, to be honest, I know everything I said is crazy, and doesn't make sense, he hesitated. I believe you, Subaru-kun, with every fiber of my being. She planted a kiss on his palm. She had already a few guesses about his ability, perhaps he can see future. Or rather, multiple futures. Subaru felt blessed to have someone like Rem. I ran into two gods fighting each other, and believe it or not I have killed them and usurped their divine authorities, at least a part of it. He said the craziest words in the world. Rem knew how weak he was, Rem knew it should be impossible for him to kill gods, yet there was no doubt. He showed a new ability, she could feel something else from him. It was as if she was standing before a predator at the pinnacle of the food chain, she could feel death. Combined with the witch's scent on him, which was so thick, it would have scared anyone but she. I love you, Subaru-kun, she said it, she finally said it. Subaru was speechless, yet their moment was interrupted as white mist appeared, creating a haze. Rem, I am really angry that our moment was interrupted by a big white fish, he said, surprising her, as she quickly pulled her mourning from below her skirt. He stopped her and flashed a smile. See, Rem, see the growth of your Subaru, the power of the man who had slayed gods. Then he summoned a whip in his hands, surprising her. Subaru started swinging it and the sheer force created a tornado, blowing the white mist away, revealing a huge monstrosity in the skies. Rem's eyes widened in fear and she muttered, "White whale." Subaru looked at the monster with no fear, defiance burned in his eyes. He lowered himself, before jumping, creating a shockwave, and appeared above it. He swung his whip, it widened to 100 meters and struck the white whale. In a single hit the whale was thrown on the ground. Its back was sunk, and a bloody huge mark of whip stirred as the wound started decaying. I am the god of death, suddenly Subaru chanted, and his entire aura changed. A horrifying aura released from him. Just in being the presence of Subaru, Rem trembled, her senses were screaming even if it was not targeted towards. A golden throne appeared in the sky as Subaru casually sat on it. Bones spurted out from the sides of the throne and below, forming a platform. I am the judge of hell, the end of living. I shall judge the unworthy of living. I henceforth deprive of your life. Burn under the weight of your sins, karmic retribution henceforth comes. His whip escaped his palm and started floating in the sky, cladded in an ominous aura. Yamadute's call. Meanwhile, the white whale has already gotten back in air and had summoned his clones, which flew towards Subaru trying to attack. Subaru. Rem cried out, in fear of Subaru being harmed, but before anything could happen the whip flew and grabbed the soul of the white whale and pulled it back. It was so fast that as if the whip hadn't moved at all. The clones vanished, the white whale froze, it dropped from the sky to the ground. Meanwhile, bone-wrenching cries of a beast ran out as the soul of white whale started burning down. Pain million times worse than being struck by needless on your most sensitive areas filled the beast. However, in a few seconds, it was burned into nothing. The throne of gold started vanishing and so did the enormous bones. Rem, are you alright? It seems my aura affected you, Subaru asked her with worry. However, she smiled to soothe him. I am alright, but the white whale. She looked at the corpse of what was once one of 3 biggest disasters in the world. She recalled Subaru's aura the moment he used his divine authority. It was as if being the presence of God of Death himself. Subaru-kun killed gods and usurped their authorities. Is he God now? She thought, the man she loved was no less than a god right now. She even doubted that someone like REINHARD could survive that. Rem, this is unfortunately not over, he said, and she nodded. I am with you, Subaru-kun, she said, leaning against him. As long as I am alive, even if the witch herself comes, I will protect her, Subaru swore in his mind. He had already told a part of his abilities, although indirectly, and he didn't feel being choked and his heart grabbed again. But he knew if Rem realized what his ability was, perhaps witch will come out again. But this time, he was ready for her. Bro, I am rooting for you to fix her. Meanwhile, back in royal capital, all the royal candidates were summoned by the wise men. Miklatov thought it would be better if the royal candidates knew the truth, and could help them verify it. REINHARD was called back from his mission. His abilities were must for them to verify about Subaru slaying gods. The wise men seated on their seats, while royal candidates came one by one. This time the hall was free of royal knights and nobles, only some important people and the allies of the royal candidates were present. "May I know why have we been called so late?" asked Crush, and all the wise men showed troubled expressions. They have gone and read through everything about Natsuki Subaru. They had found prior to his first appearance in the royal capital a month ago there was no information of him. As if just dropped out of nowhere, and now knowing what had transpired prior to this meeting they cannot help but feel uneasy. The man who had killed gods had been insulted in the worst way possible, by one of the candidates nonetheless. Marcus, the captain of the Royal Knights, said, "Please be silent. Soon a very important discussion concerning the very future of Lugunica is about to happen." "Another one," smiled Anastasia, realizing some wise men were giving weird looks toward her, or rather to Julius, who was confused as heck. Soon, Reinhardt followed by Felt entered the room and all the wise men breathed in relief. A servant slowly took out the dragon tablet on a luxurious trolley, and placed between the two groups. Wilhelm's eyes narrowed as he looked at Reinhardt before looking away, pretending to not notice him. However, Reinhardt had already felt his eyes looking at him. "May I know for what I have been called off my mission?" he asked in a tone full of respect. "An hour ago," began Miklatov, "we got another message from the Divine Dragon and it still persists till now," he continued. The servant took off the red cloth, presenting the dragon tablet for all of them to see. The royal candidates casted curious glances at each other. "See the message for yourself," said one of the wise men. "Julius, can you go and read the message for us?" Anastasia looked at her loyal knight, who nodded and went forward, standing in front of the dragon tablet. The moment his eyes fell on the message, color drained from his face as his eyes widened, his figure started trembling. Everybody quickly noticed something was wrong. Reinhardt, seeing Julius stunned, quickly walked forward and looked at the dragon tablet, becoming stunned as well. "What's written on that damn tablet?" Felt grunted at her knight, who turned around and took a deep breath. "It is written here, Natsuki Subaru had completed the impossible act of slaying gods. He had slain the god of death and god of time-space, henceforth usurping their divine authorities," he broke the news. Gasps rang out throughout the room. "Say again." Felix looked dumbfounded. "Natsuki Subaru had slain gods of death and time-space, that's what written here," Reinhardt said again. "Is this some kind of joke? That peasant had slain gods?" snickered Priscilla. Her opinion of Natsuki Subaru was very low. He was just a peasant who had been beaten down for overstepping his boundaries, not even worth remembering. "Can we be sure that dragon tablet hasn't been tampered with?" suddenly pointed out Anastasia. "Miss Crush, are you saying that someone is capable of tampering with the magic of the divine dragon itself?" Marcus seemed to heard the words of blasphemy. "Indeed, even I cannot tamper with the messages," Reinhardt said. "There existed no divine protection in the world capable of doing that. The messages states that Natsuki Subaru had slain two gods, enigmatic beings whose presence had been a question for decades. Normally all the words on the dragon tablet are considered absolute truth, yet the absurdity of the situation makes it necessary for us to verify this news," said Miklatov. "Indeed, there is no way that boy who was beaten like an idiot can kill gods," said Anastasia confidently. Julius also finally recovered. "Yes, there must be a mistake with the dragon tablet," he thought in relief. "Nya, although I don't want to believe this, but perhaps the possibility of Natsuki Subaru slaying gods or at least acquiring their abilities is very high," suddenly said Felix, surprising everyone. "Indeed, Natsuki Subaru just a few hours ago used an unknown magic to teleport away, which should be impossible considering his gate is very weak and damaged," said Crush. "Can you tell us in detail what happened?" Bordeaux happened, and Wilhelm stepped forward and detailed everyone what had occurred back in the mansion. "Teleportation magic is the pinnacle of yin magic and is a lost magic. There exists no mage in the world capable of doing that, even Rosewall is incapable of it," said Miklatov, the most knowledgeable of all. "After all, if something like that existed in today's date, it would have been a trump card for the countries. The ability to send their armies directly into the center of their enemy's camp would have been too valuable." "Is this the power he acquired from God of time-space?" asked a wise man. The room became silent. Not to mention Wilhelm describing how his instincts screamed at him in the presence of Natsuki Subaru basically confirms it, said Miklatov, his face dead serious. "If someone like Wilhelm, who once beat the Sword Saint, says that he felt danger, extreme danger, just by being in the presence of Natsuki Subaru, tells a lot about the situation. Reinhard, you are assigned a new mission right now. Find Natsuki Subaru and, Miklatov stopped. He wanted to say to neutralize him, however he knew if Natsuki Subaru had powers of God now, perhaps he was no weaker than the divine dragon himself, he didn't know if Reinhard would actually win, so he changed his motive. Invite him to the royal castle, and we will fulfill whatever demands he might have, Miklatov said. Reinhard nodded and said, I shall complete this mission as soon as I can. Wait, the words in the dragon tablet have changed. Suddenly Marcus pointed out, shifting everyone's focus towards the dragon tablet. Al, go and read what is written there. Priscilla was getting interested in Natsuki Subaru, once again. Al nodded and quickly walked in front of dragon tablet and muttered, damn, bro's not stopping, huh? Natsuki Subaru had slayed the white whale. Ahem, it is written that Natsuki Subaru had felled the white whale, he said, shocking everyone. Wilhelm clenched his fists and Reinhard was shaken. Is it true? White whale is dead. Wilhelm himself walked towards the dragon tablet and looked at the words written on it. Hatred, anger, grudge, intense feelings took over him. Sir Wilhelm, control yourself, Julius reminded him upon seeing the hideous face of Wilhelm. Forgive me, I lost control for a moment, he said, calming himself, however his emotions were still turbulent. While the royal castle was filled with doubts and hesitation, Pandora was smiling from her dimension. This should help my son. Yes, she was the one was tampered with the dragon tablet, however she didn't lie and tried to make these foolish mortals understand her son was not someone that they could provoke. Natsuki Subaru and Rem, instead of going towards the mansion, first went into the forest where the witch cult had gathered. It's them, he said as he looked at the people dressed up in witch cult's clothing. Rem clenched her fists when Subaru stopped her. The witch cultist walked in front of Subaru, and then bowed, before leaving. Natsuki-kun, why did they leave? Rem was confused by their actions. They must have mistaken me as one of their own due to the witch's miasma on me, he said, and she understood. They went deeper. It was still night, and an hour before the sun rises, they reached before a cave. Oh, believe, before the Sin Archbishop could say anything, Subaru invoked his divine authority. I am the god of death, he chanted, and a golden throne manifested as he sat on it. This time he grabbed Rem and made her sit on his lap. Subaru-kun, Rem blushed as she snuggled on his chest. This time the aura of the death god didn't affect her. I am the judge of hell, the end of living. I shall judge the unworthy of living. I henceforth deprive of your life. Burn under the weight of your sins, karmic retribution henceforth comes. Patelgus didn't remain standing upon realizing that Subaru was attacking him, and quickly manifested dozens of unseen hands and unleashed them upon Subaru. However, a spherical barrier manifested over Subaru and Rem, blocking all his attacks. Yamadute's call. The noose grabbed Patelgus, soul out of his body, and Subaru smirked. I said I will kill you, Patelgus, you are dying in the most painful way, Subaru said, caressing Rem's hair, who looked at the spectacle. Bone-chilling screams of Patelgus rang out as his soul started melting. The other witch cultists looked in confusion and with hesitation. To them Subaru was perhaps another Sin Archbishop, so they didn't know if they should intervene. Soon Patelgius's scream dried out as his soul vanished into oblivion, and Subaru felt something latch onto him. This must be the sloth witch factor, Subaru thought as he recalled Pandora's words. Then the throne disappeared and Subaru let Rem down from his lap, and she pouted. She was obviously enjoying sitting on his lap and being caressed like a pet. First Reina and now Rem, all Subarus have an history with getting yanderes. Now it's your turn, Subaru said as he looked at the witch cultists. He decided to check on his new authority, and dozens of hands manifested from his back. Subaru-kun, I am ready to kill them. Rem took the morning star hiding within her skirts. The witch cultists too realized that Subaru wanted to kill them, so they got on an offensive position. Subaru controlled the invisible hands and captured the witch cultists, twisting their necks off, and they fell on the ground. Rem blinked her eyes and looked at Hiro, who was looking at her with a smile. You have protected me enough, Rem, now it's my turn to protect you, he said. She wanted to protest, she wanted to say that she wanted to help him. However, seeing the look on his face, and remembering his earlier words, she nodded and took back her morning star in submission. After that, hell began for the witch cultists. Subaru-kun, why did he do that? Amelia thought again of her self-proclaimed knight and felt disappointed. He didn't listen to her words and barged into the royal castle with another royal candidate. She thought he wanted to betray her, then he made a mess during the conference, and then another mess by getting beaten up by the Julius. She was thoroughly disappointed in him, and then he said that he did everything for her. His actions still troubled her till now, as she tried to make sense out of the situation. "Miss Amelia, may I come in?" Suddenly she heard Ram's voice, knocking on the door. "Yes, come in." Amelia flashed a smile as the Red Oni entered. "Miss Amelia, some villagers had just informed me they had seen weird people in the forest and heard cries from the forest," she said. Worry appeared on Amelia's face as she followed Ram towards the village, wondering what happened. Soon the first rays of sun struck the village, casting a gentle glow on everyone. Ah! A man wearing shredded clothes came out running from the forest, surprising the villagers and Ram and Amelia. "Save me, please, save me from that monster," he cried out, tears pouring down his cheeks as he showed a horrified look. Amelia stepped forward. "May I know what has happened to?" She paused upon seeing the mess of his hands. Both of his hands were bent in completely wrong directions. He got behind Amelia. "He is coming," he shouted, and Amelia quickly got on guard, while Ram frowned as she observed the man. His clothes. Her eyes narrowed in suspicion when two people came out of forest. "Subaru-kun." Amelia's eyes widened as she looked at Subaru and Rem, their clothes drenched in blood. "Monster! Save me! He is a Sin Archbishop!" Suddenly the man cried out, much to the horror of the villagers. Sin Archbishop." Amelia's eyes widened in disbelief. Betrayal hit her. Subaru frowned, looking at her. "Subaru, what does he means?" she shouted, but Subaru remained silent. Instead Rem grabbed her morning star and ran forward, and swung her morning star, hitting the man behind Amelia. He landed on a pavement a few meters away, blood pooled below him. "Did she just?" she thought, looking at Rem in disbelief. "Did you all just hear that? That man said he was a Sin Archbishop." A villager cried out in fear, tumbling back. "Impossible, Sir Natsuki has saved our village from the beasts." Another villager debunked him. "Sister, what's going on?" Ram asked, and Rem pointed towards the man's clothes. "He is a witch cultist," she said, surprising Ram. "Everyone, please listen to me," Rem shouted, gathering everyone's attention towards her. "What that man said was a lie. In fact, he is an witch cultist. You all can see his clothes," she said, and everyone looked at the man's clothes. Wait, I recognize it. These are the clothes of the witch cultists." An old man instantly recognized it. Subaru-kun in fact had killed all the witch cultists dwelling in the forest, who were preparing to attack the village. Rem said, and the villagers gasped. While Amelia looked in disbelief, then she looked at Subaru, understanding she had misunderstood. "But why I am feeling danger from Subaru." Her senses screamed extreme danger just by being in the presence of Subaru, as if embodied death itself. Even Meliquera didn't come off as dangerous as Subaru right now. Even Ram was getting the same unsettling feeling from the Subaru, it just made shiver from it. Meanwhile Subaru wondering what to say to Amelia. "Not anymore, I am not a weakling anymore," he thought as he recalled Pandora's words. "Never let your pride be hurt," he muttered to himself. "Barusu, tell me what's happening," said Ram as if ordering him. "To be honest, I don't think if you will believe me, Sue, Rem, you can brief her later on," he said. Ram grunted and Rem nodded. "Barusu, I am resigning from my position as the butler of the Rosewall Mansion," Subaru bluntly said before she could say anything else, leaving everyone surprised. He then looked at Amelia and bowed. "Thank you for taking care of me when I was all alone, but I don't think I would like to stay as a butler anymore." He is literally the Demon King, working as a butler. It didn't suit him. He was done with following Amelia like a dog. If someone had said it earlier that he was Amelia's dog, he would have accepted it as a compliment, and now he thinks about it again, he realizes how much just he had degraded himself. Of course he was grateful to her. After all, she saved him and helped him when he had no idea on what to do in this unknown world. But following her like a dog wasn't the solution. Meanwhile Ram seemed offended by Subaru's words, as if he was betraying Rosewall, who employed him when he was most helpless. "Stupid Barusu, what are you saying?" she shouted. However, Subaru ignored her. "Anyway, I am getting a bath, let's have a meal after that," Subaru said, deciding to talk to them after taking a shower. However, Ram stood in front of him with anger and glared at him. "If you have left your job, then you are not allowed to enter the mansion." "Sister." Rem quickly went protective and stood in front of Subaru, While she too was surprised by Subaru leaving his job, she understood his reason. Not to mention anything, Subaru was equivalent to a deity now. How can he work as a butler to Emilia? Subaru meanwhile sighed. He could have forced to go into the mansion ignoring her, but in the end decided not to. His personality change will be a gradual one, so be patient. He could use help from villagers but… Whatever, Rem, you go take a bath, I will meet you after a few hours, he said to the blue Oni. Subaru-kun, all right, she nodded, and Subaru just gave a smile. Meanwhile I will check the forest for any hidden dangers, he said ignoring Ram and Emilia and then jumped. He casually broke the ground leaving a small crater as he jumped dozens of meters and landed away in the forest. His sudden jump and the small shockwave left behind shocked everyone. Ram meanwhile was frozen on her place, unable to comprehend what she had just witnessed. She saw Subaru show a superhuman feat which he shouldn't be able to considering how weak he is. Rem, is he really Subaru? Asked Emilia dryly and Rem nodded. Oni-chan and Emilia-sama, I know you must have doubts and be confused. I shall explain to you to everything, and don't blame Subaru for anything. He has gone through a lot. I don't think I will be able to forgive you both if you keep shouting at Subaru like that, even you Oni-chan. Her words shocked Ram, who looked at her sister in disbelief, because her sister never went against her wishes or words, but now she was taking a firm stance for Subaru. Ram calmed herself down and nodded. Very well, we shall return to the mansion, though not before disposing of this corpse. She looked at the dead witch cultist. The villagers still had many doubts and were murmuring, however the superhuman stunt that Subaru pulled off definitely gave them a huge surprise. Meanwhile Subaru deep in the forest sighed. He didn't know what to say further and just decided to bail out and gather his thoughts before approaching them again. Still, I need to clean myself, he muttered looking at his dirty clothes. He had kept the ground dragon by mansion before venturing into the forest with Rem. How about I try my other authority? Subaru thought out loud. He hadn't tested the world gate as of yet. Well, Pandora did say RBD works out of the boundaries of the world I am in, so it can reboot the strongest of the realities with ease. It was horrifying to be honest, and it showed how strong the Witch of Envy truly was. With that authority I should be safe, and Pandora also said my body can survive a few nuclear attacks with having just minor injuries, so yeah, I should be safe in most of the worlds, he thought. Subaru actually had no idea how strong the world could be since for him Pandora's world was strongest yet, as Campioni could destroy entire continents with their divine authorities. Coupled with his intense curiosity he decided to give it a go, conveniently forgetting that he can cast the authority only once a day. Just a sneak peek, he decided and invoked his authority. Infinite realities, myriad worlds, I gaze upon the cosmos out of the cosmos. Open a gate to real yet unknown to me. World gate. A gate manifested before Subaru and opened slowly revealing a swirling portal. Subaru touched it and was suddenly sucked in it, much to his surprise, and the gate closed. Damn it, Subaru cursed to himself as he landed on dried sand. He stood up and patted the dust off his clothes and looked around. The place looked eerie, however it gave him a soothing feeling. Suddenly he heard the rustling of bones and found a few skeleton creatures moving to him. Are they skeletons? Subaru looked at them surprised as they stopped before him, before letting out a cry and attacking towards him. Obviously, Subaru simply smashed a few times in the air, absolutely obliterating them. Subaru further explored the area and cursed to himself for even invoking the authority. I just hope Rem doesn't get too worried about me, he sighed. As far as he could see, the sky was covered with dark clouds. It casted a shadow upon the entire place. Suddenly he saw a structure in the distance and broke through the sound barrier running towards it. He reached the structure. It was a castle made of black rocks. Subaru wasn't exactly a genius at guessing its material. As he explored the area further, suddenly his sense screamed danger and he dodged by a hair's breadth. Not bad, intruder. He looked to find a woman with long purple hair and red eyes. Her body proportions were just perfect. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, more than Emilia, he admits. The moment her eyes locked on Subaru he got on guard. For trespassing into my realm, die. And thus she summoned a spear stabbing towards him, not giving any chance to speak. Just like that Subaru found himself in danger, again. To be continued. Fun fact, the chaps 1 to 7 of this FIC are the parts of the same chap. 31 comments 0 vote. 11 Morning Star, 3rd POV. The rest of the day passed, with Ram teaching him the basic alphabets and words. His speed of learning was extremely fast, and to him it felt as if he had eidetic and photographic memory. In just a few hours he could read basic sentences with ease, surprising Ram and even making her suspicious. However, he shoved it up to his genius. Finally, when the night came, he was escorted by Ram to his room, and when his body touched the bed, his muscles relaxed. Should I sleep? What if Ram attacks me? He muttered to himself, and decided to wait for 2 hours before sleeping. After half an hour of uneasy peace, he suddenly heard something. He got up and the door opened with Rem coming inside while holding her Morningstar, her face cold. "It would have been better if you were in sleep, it would have been painless," she said, and Subaru stepped back taking out his knives. "Can I ask why are you here with the intent to kill me?" Subaru asked, gritting his teeth. "Why? After you have done. You ask me why? You filthy witch cultist." She spat and swung her Morningstar. The chains rumbled as the giant metal spiked ball came towards him. Subaru barely dodged the attack, and running back he broke the window in pieces and jumped on the ground. He looked back to see Rem looking at him with a cold face while a single white horn manifested on her forehead. She was about to jump down. Fuck. He quickly ran away, soon in the forest while Rem follows him. However, her speed was slower than his. Unfortunately, she could traverse through the forest more easily than him, and soon caught up to him. She swung her Morningstar, decimating the trees, while Subaru jumped away in panic. Finally he stopped panting a bit and turned towards Rem, who also stopped running and leisurely walked towards him. "I am not a witch cultist. Didn't I already told you all that I reek of witches miasma because I am cursed by her?" He shouted, and Rem frowned. "Yes, but that must be a lie," she said, and Subaru's eyebrows twitched and veins appeared on his forehead. "Lie? Didn't a fucking great spirit checked whether I was speaking truth or not? Didn't your master ordered you to treat me as you would treat him?" He yelled at her in anger. To all this, she simply replied, "Doesn't matter, I don't believe you. You reek of miasma and hence you are a filthy witch cultist and deserve to die." He froze, looking at her in disbelief. The absurdity of the situation settled in him, as he erupted in laughter. "Ha ha ha ha, me a witch cultist." He wiped his tear and then glared at her. "Now you are showing your true colors, filthy witch cultist." She spat and got ready to attack him. Then he got in a battle stance as well, and said with serious eyes, "Rem, you are fucking beyond redemption." Her eyes narrowed and she attacked, swinging her Morningstar. Subaru dodged it and then charged towards her while yelling, "Shamak." A black fog manifested around him, erupting like an explosion, covering both Rem and him. However, he had already her position in mind, and in a second he arrived near her and swung her knife. The sound of cleaving flesh reached his ears. He swung his knife again, and again, and again. Suddenly something struck his back, throwing him away like a ragdoll. He crashed against a tree, breaking its trunk apart. His ribs cracked and he looked to find his magic dispelled in a bloody Rem. "You disgusting witch cultist. Die!" She screamed and swung her Morningstar again. This time he didn't had time to dodge, so he swung his knife with all of his strength. His one knife cracked into pieces while the impact threw him away. He flipped his body, regaining his balance. Subaru took deep breaths as he stared at Rem, who started going berserk. She swung her Morningstar. He tried to dodge it. However, due to sudden pain in his ribs he froze and the spiked ball hit his body hard, throwing him away. "Fuck," he said as he spat out blood. She suddenly appeared before him and his eyes narrowed as he begged, "Stow arg." His legs became a mush. "Plea arg." His face was hit by it and his neck twisted. Tears escaped out of his eyes as he coughed out a few teeth. She then hit him again and again. By the end his body was a bloody mess, with his limbs crushed, bones visible and meat spread all over the place. Natsuki Subaru has died for the 5th time. * 32. To be continued. 16 comments 0 vote. 12 hit the mark bonus chap. 3rd POV. Arg. Subaru grabbed his chest as he started panting. He looked around to find himself in the guest room. Is it after Amelia had left the room? He muttered. However, he was sure it was the case. That bitch, he spat with hatred in his eyes as he recalled how she killed him without any mercy. What should I do? I will die again. I don't want to die again, he said while tears escaped, recalling how horrifying his death was. Normally a single hit would have been enough to kill him, however due to his increased vitality he was forced to live. with his bones crushed, his chest crushed, his limbs becoming squashed mess, his head cracking under her assault. Only if Reina can come here. Wait. Can I call her? He suddenly realized, is it possible to seek her help if he was to call her name? Didn't she have like 1,000,001 divine protections? She should have an ability to know if someone calls her name desperately. However, chances are not that great. He sighed and decided to test it out later on. He came outside the room and then searched for Betty's library. Once he found it, he entered the library. How rude to enter Betty's library without Betty's permission, Beatrice said as she looked at the intruder. Should I say that I am that person? He thought. Echidna wanted Betty to choose her, that person. However, instead Betty waited for the imaginary, that person, who never came for her. Leave it, there is no need to tell her that. Although I can be her, that person, as of now I am not her that person, he thought. Sorry, it seems I entered the wrong room. However, which room is this? He asked. This is Betty's library, I suppose, she said and stared at him with unkind eyes. Subaru entered the room and looked at the books neatly arranged in the bookshelves. Damn, this is basically fountain of knowledge, he thought. Can I take one book? He asked. However, he received a glare from her. No one can take Betty's books without her permission, in fact, she said and rejected him. I see, he sighed, and thought how good it was if he could touch the books and focused on a book, wanting to read it. Suddenly the book came out of the bookshelf and floated in front of him. What? The book fell on the ground with a thud and Beatrice stood up from her chair. She looked at the book and then at him with glint in his eyes. Why was the book floating? She asked him, as she didn't sense any magic being used. I don't know, all I wanted is for the book to come towards me and it happened. Suddenly the book again started floating as he focused while Beatrice's eyes narrowed. Impossible, you are not using mana. How are you doing it, in fact? She asked in a cold tone. Subaru meanwhile ignored her and instead became excited. He tested his new ability, just like how he wanted the book floated, he wanted it to revolve around him and so it did. He started testing it more and decided to focus on other books. Suddenly multiple books came out of the bookshelf and started floating around him. If one was to look carefully, the books were covered in a blue light. Hey, don't ignore me. Betty suddenly got angry and touched him. Subaru froze and suddenly he felt all of his mana being drained out. You seem to have a decent amount of mana, I suppose, she said with a sadistic grin on her face. He fell on the ground and so did the books. He groaned in pain and slowly stood up. Why would you do that? He asked and she snorted. HMPH. For ignoring Betty, I suppose, she replied and then continued, now show if you can still float the books, as if ordering him. Subaru groaned and tried to lift up the books. Suddenly a blue stream of energy came out of his body and lifted up the books in air, with no reduction in power. I have drained you all of your mana, yet you can achieve this. This isn't magic, but an authority, in fact, she said and looked at him. I can smell witch's miasma from you. Are you an archbishop of sin? She asked with suspicion and got on guard. But again, will an archbishop will be stupid enough for her to drain his entire mana? She couldn't help but doubt. Nah, I am cursed by the witch. That's why I reek of miasma. As for why I have the ability to move things without mana. Honesty, I am not sure, he said honestly, however he did have an inkling of what was happening. It was telekinesis, and since with each death, his abilities have been increasing. Maybe his psychic ability has increased. In fiction it is often stated that if someone's mental capacity increases beyond a certain amount, they can use psychic abilities. Perhaps, that's the case. I will have to test how strong this ability is. As for its name, let's call it Ruler's Authority. He picked the name from a certain shadow monarch, as it matched. Is that so? She stared at him with suspicion and then her eyes got a glint. Something that isn't magic or authority, and neither curse. It's a totally new type of ability. Her eyes shined as she realized how precious this knowledge was. She looked at Subaru as if looking at prey. Subaru couldn't help but shudder seeing her sparkling eyes, however she soon realized her mistake and recovered from her excitement. The fact that something like this isn't recorded in Forbidden Library is totally unexpected, in fact. She said as she eyed at Subaru. If you let Betty analyze this ability of yours, you can read books from the library, I suppose. She said as she looked at him for his reply. This is totally a deal worth it. Subaru smirked and grabbed her small hand and shook it. HMPH. Remember, it doesn't mean you can disturb Betty, I suppose, she said, and he nodded. How about you come for breakfast? It should be prepared by now, he asked, and she hesitated for a moment before nodding. They came out of the forbidden library and met Rem. Are you the guest Miss Amelia has talked about? She asked, and then looked at Beatrice standing beside him in surprise. Miss Beatrice, you are outside the library? She asked, and Betty snorted. Yes, Betty is outside of her library, I suppose, she said, and Rem decided to not say anything lest she angers her. She then escorted them to the dining hall, where Subaru again met with Rosewall, and had breakfast. Finally, he made the same requests as he had made with him in previous loop, first to get a lot of money and second for someone to tutor him, as he hadn't finished learning the language of this world. He then wondered if he should tell he reeks of miasma due to the curse of the witch, like the previous loop. In the end he decided to come clean and said the same thing, as for whether they believe or not. It's their problem, last thing he wants to feel guilt. Then again, I must be ready to face Rem. I should go in forest and check my abilities first, he thought, and left the mansion and went to the forest. He took out his 2 knives and swung it against a tree, a deep slash mark appeared in it. As of now, I have only these 2 knives as my weapons, however I would prefer to shift to a sword, he muttered. He wanted to shift to a sword, because the strongest weapons in Ray Zero were the 10 legendary swords, out of which Dragon Sword was strongest, that could cut through the concepts. Yes, unless Reinhardt draws the Dragon Sword, he cannot cut through the concepts. If he could obtain even one of them, then he can be becoming a powerhouse. That's why he preferred sword as his main weapon. Unfortunately right now he just had the 2 knives he had stolen from the thieves back in Lugunica as his weapons. After testing his abilities for a bit, he came to a realization. He could now smash away trees with his fists alone. His speed had increased immensely, almost doubled. Wait, doubled? Does that mean all my abilities double with each death? He thought and realized it should be the case. After all, if his abilities tripled or quadrupled, then he would have been ridiculously powerful by now, and if his abilities increased just by 50% or 70%, he wouldn't have been this strong. He had hit the mark. He then returned to the mansion, ready to fulfill his promise with Beatrice and learn about his newfound telekinesis. To be continued. 25 comments, 0 vote. Download the app for greater interaction. You can chat with me about my writing experience apart from the comments section. Acros_0. Download app now. 13. Rem's dead. 3rd Pav. Intriguing. You can move things or even bend spoons with your intentions alone. However, the blue glow suggests some type of energy at work. In fact, said Betty as she looked at the floating books with curious eyes. She took out a notebook and started jotting down the notes. Then she looked at him and said, "We should give this energy a suitable name, I suppose. Let's call it psychic energy, and let's name the ability to move objects without touching telekinesis," he said, and she looked at him surprised. "You are good at naming, I suppose," she said. He shrugged and then said, "Also, let's call the ability as whole, Ruler's Authority." Ruler's Authority? She frowned hearing such a grandiose name similar to Witch's Authority. Yeah, the ability to move objects with will alone, isn't it like a ruler who can affect the surrounding people by his presence and will alone? He argued, and she nodded, hitting the realization. "You are not half bad, I suppose," she commented, which surprised him as he knew Betty never praised anyone easily. She blushed realizing what she had said, however remained silent. "Well, I should leave. I will finish up learning how to read and write the language, then I will come here to read books," he said, and left the library. However, he could sense her gaze lingering till the door closed. "Hey, are you Betty's that person?" She clenched the book in her hand and looked at the closed door. Stupid Rose, doesn't know to read and write," said Ram as she opened the notebook. "At least you know the basic alphabets, right?" She stared at him with a questioning gaze. "First, I don't like the nickname you gave me. Secondly, didn't Rosewall told you to treat me with respect?" he asked her. She clicked her tongue and said, "Fine, respected guest, Ram shall now teach you this letter is." 2 hours passed in a blink of eyes, while Ram stared at Subaru with a dumbfounded look. No matter what she taught, he could learn it instantly. It won't be wrong to say he had learned almost 1/4 of the words present in the dictionary. "Are you trying to act illiterate deliberately?" she asked with narrowed eyes. "Nah, I am just that good," He shrugged. He had now eidetic and photographic memory. To add cherry on the top, his comprehension abilities were also top-notch. Ram's eyebrows twitched hearing his words and she muttered, "Shameless," says the woman with Stockholm Syndrome. Subaru rolled his eyes. Next, Ram left with the excuse she had to work, which he knew was a lie. In previous loop he had just seen her try to work, and the real work was done by Ram. Subaru didn't mind her and continued reading, ready to learn the language by the end of the day. In fact, his reading speed too has been enhanced. He flipped page in every 10 or so seconds, instantly learning what was written in the pages. After having the dinner, he wondered if he should go to Betty's library and spend the night there. At least it will be safer there. Leave it, I am quite angry with that bitch. I wanna see that bitch try, he thought with a cold look. If this Ram was to attempt to murder him, then he was gonna thrash her well. To be honest, he really wanted to kill her, but that would make him enemies with Ram and probably Puck. Even Amelia won't like it. Not to mention his reputation would be jeopardy. What a pain. Doesn't matter, this time I will take her limb or two at least if she dares, he thought before going to his bed. Just like the last time, his plan was to wait for 2 hours to see if she would come. After nearly 30 minutes someone walked in and he jumped out of the bed, holding the 2 knives. Without any surprise, it was Rem, her expression extremely cold. "It would have been better if you were sleeping, it would have been painless," she said as she held her morning star. "Really, I can sense the hostility from you. But to think you want to kill me, let me guess, because of the witch's miasma," he said, and she swung her morning star. He dodged it and broke through the window, falling to the garden. Should I scream for help? He wondered. The only one who would probably help him will be Betty and Amelia. As for Ram and that clown, leave it. He ran towards the forest, seething with anger. This time his speed doubled. If he wished she could have never catch up to him. However, he deliberately slowed himself for her to catch up to him. Once he reached a considerably open area, he stopped. "Running away is futile. You will die here, filthy witch cultist," she said as if totally assured of her victory. El Huma. His eyes narrowed as she used magic. Multiple ice spears materialized in the air. Dona. He used earth magic and a wall of stone rose up in front of him, blocking the spears. Thankfully he used quite a bit of magic, so wall was extremely sturdy and he was safe behind it. Finally he yelled, "Reina. Amelia. Betty. Anyone. Help me." He didn't know if anyone tried to come to help him, but it was worth a shot. "Foolish. Do you think someone will come to save a filthy witch cultist?" She snarled. However, the next moment a girl materialized in front of Subaru. Quote. To be continued. 21 comments, 0 vote. 14. I am the Sin Archbishop, representing Pride. 0 bonus chap. Third person Pav. Foolish. Do you think anyone would come to save a filthy witch cultist? She snarled, but in the very next moment, a girl materialized in front of Subaru. Quote. She fell silent, stunned at the sight of the fair girl who had just appeared. Her red hair swayed gently in the wind, and her clear blue eyes looked briefly at Rem before turning to Subaru. A soft smile appeared on her lips. "I am here, Lord Zero," she said. Subaru couldn't help the wave of relief and joy that washed over him. He quickly wrapped his arms around her from behind. She let out a surprised yelp, her cheeks flushing pink. But after a second, she returned the embrace, a smile of pure happiness lighting up her face. Rem, of course, wasn't one to stand still. Without hesitation, she chanted, "Al Huma." A towering, dense pillar of ice formed instantly, racing toward them with terrifying speed. Subaru's eyes widened in shock at the incoming attack. Reina, however, didn't even glance back. Her expression turned cold as she raised a hand and simply flicked her finger toward the ice. Boom! The massive ice spell shattered into 1,000 glittering shards, the fragments flying backward with a fierce shockwave. Rem was caught in the blast and thrown through the trees like a ragdoll, crashing violently into several trunks before finally landing. Subaru's jaw dropped as he stared at the scene in disbelief. Releasing the hug, he looked at Reina with awe. She turned to him and said calmly, "Don't worry, Lord Zero. As long as I'm by your side, no one will be able to harm even a single strand of your hair." Reina, that was incredible. "You were amazing," he said, his eyes practically sparkling. She rubbed her nose bashfully, trying to hide her smile. It wasn't that impressive. If it had been anyone else, they would have been terrified of her or even called her a monster. But Natsuki Subaru wasn't like everyone else. Especially not his former self, Ayan Ghosh, who had always admired overpowered protagonists. Non-dense op main characters are the best, mark my words. Rem, groaning, forced herself to her feet and suddenly took off, sprinting toward the mansion. Reina stepped forward, broke the sound barrier, and reappeared instantly with Rem dangling by her neck. She returned to Subaru without so much as a scratch. I've captured her, Lord Zero. Should I eliminate her? She asked. She didn't understand why this blue-haired Oni had attacked her lord, but if her divine blessing hadn't warned her against killing Rem, she'd have already ended her. No, let's take her to the Mather's mansion. She's got some explaining to do, Subaru replied. Reina nodded. Subaru's expression darkened as he stared at Rem hanging helplessly. She struggled, but her magic wouldn't activate, her mana was completely disrupted. Oh, before that, can you put her down for a second? He asked, and Reina obeyed. The moment Rem's feet touched the ground, she glared at Subaru. Filthy witch, see you, she began, but her words were cut short as Subaru slapped her hard across the face. She hit the ground, coughing up a few teeth. Her cheek swelled rapidly, and she looked up at him in shock and disbelief, utterly humiliated. What's with that look? Like I'm the villain here? Subaru said coldly. You tried to kill me over some fake accusation that was already disproved, by a damn great spirit, no less. He glanced at Reina, silently signaling her to grab Rem again. Reina nodded and picked Rem up by her neck once more, like a child. Together, they headed toward Rosewall's mansion. On the way, Subaru explained everything that had happened, including why Rem had tried to kill him. Reina's expression grew colder as she listened, her grip tightening. Is that true? You tried to kill Lord Zero over something like that? She snarled. Her eyes glinted with fury, and her hand tightened, making Rem's face turn pale as she struggled to breathe. Reina, she'll die at this rate. Stop! Subaru shouted. Reina immediately loosened her grip. Be grateful, bitch, she spat. If not for Lord Zero, I'd have erased you without a trace. Rem didn't fully understand who Reina was, but one thing was clear, she was absurdly strong. To destroy her most powerful spell with just a flick of her fingers. Terrifying. Anyway, Reina, do you have a divine protection that allows us to communicate telepathically? Subaru asked. She nodded. Yes, I do. She activated it and sent a message directly into his mind. You can speak now, Lord Zero. Great. Once we arrive, I'm going to tell them a little joke, he replied with a grin. A joke? Reina tilted her head in confusion, not understanding the purpose. Subaru quickly explained his idea. Though she still didn't quite get why he wanted to do that, she didn't question it either. If that was what he wanted to do, she would support him. Soon, they arrived at the mansion, and Reina tossed Rem unceremoniously to the ground. Come out, Subaru shouted. Reina used her divine protection to rouse everyone. Before long, Ram, Rosewall, Amelia, and even Beatrice had gathered in the garden. Why are you bothering Betty so late, I suppose? The little spirit muttered, despite the fact she didn't need sleep. Zero, wait, what happened to Rem? Amelia gasped upon seeing her condition. Ram, supporting her sister, glared daggers at Subaru, while Rosewall looked on with a deep frown. I am the Sin Archbishop, representing pride. Zero, Subaru declared with a grin. Rem and Ram's faces twisted in horror. To be continued. I have edited it with and damn it went better than I expected. Previously, due to my different writing style, the edited story had so many plot holes that I basically discarded the idea of making any edit with ChatGPT, but now it seems it isn't so bad. I mean, it didn't turn to be a poetic mess, so I am glad for that. 9 comments, 0 vote. 15 She had made her choice. Bonus chap. Third person Pav. I am the Sin Archbishop, representing pride. 0. Subaru declared, his voice firm. Rem and Ram's expressions contorted with shock. Damn, I always thought Pride Subaru was cool ASF. Even Amelia was stunned. What are you saying, Zero? You're saying you're a witch cultist? Ram shouted, eyes wide, while Rem stood frozen, wondering if she'd been right all along. Even Rosewall seemed caught off guard by the sudden declaration. Does Betty look like an idiot to you? Beatrice said sharply. I can clearly sense that the red-haired woman beside you is the current sword saint. Why would someone like her protect a witch cultist? Rem gasped, her eyes widening. She's the sword saint. Exactly. Isn't that what you thought of me, Rem? Just a filthy witch cultist? Subaru asked. So, tell me, Reina, am I a witch cultist? She smiled gently and shook her head. I swear upon the name Reina van Astria, Lord Zero has spoken nothing but a lie. He is not, and has never been, a part of the witch cult. Impossible. He must be controlling her somehow. Rem shouted, trying to make sense of the situation. Subaru laughed aloud. Oh, so now I control the strongest sword saint in the kingdom. If that were true, the throne would already be mine. Rem was left speechless, unable to refute that logic. She opened her mouth again, but Subaru cut in. Rem, wisdom has always chased after you, but you were always faster. Reina's eyes sparkled as she looked at him. That was a great one, Lord Zero. Wait, what's that supposed to mean? Rem snapped, glaring at him. Rams and Rosewall's eyebrows twitched in irritation, and it was almost as if question marks hovered above Amelia's head. He's calling you stupid, sister, Ram said with a sigh. Rem flushed in embarrassment, again humiliated. This time, however, Reina's cheerful demeanor faded. So, Rosewall, Reina said coldly, eyes gleaming with restrained fury. Your maid attempted to assassinate Lord Zero. How do you intend to deal with that? Rosewall broke out into a cold sweat, his teeth clenched. This wasn't in the book. Reina was supposed to be busy with Felt. Subaru was supposed to die a few times, get misunderstood by Rem, and then win her over by saving the village. He was also supposed to be weak, and head over heels for Amelia. What was happening? None of this aligned with the gospel. But he needed to follow it to resurrect Echidna, no matter what. Well, I'm still a bit short on the details, he said slowly. Would you mind explaining everything? Subaru calmly recounted the events, then looked to Rem, who shared her version. Yet it was obvious to everyone, she was at fault. Rem, why would you do that? Didn't Master instruct us to treat him with the highest honor? Ram scolded, glaring. She had doubted Zero too, but never to the point of murder. If Rem had successfully killed Subaru, she might have helped dispose of the body. But now, she could only distance herself and place the blame. You tried to kill Zero. Just because you thought he was a witch cultist? Amelia asked, stunned. She looked at Rem in disbelief. So, would you try to kill me too, just because I look like the witch? Rem's voice trembled. I wouldn't do that, Lady Amelia. Don't give me that, Amelia snapped. It's the same thing. You attacked him just because he reeked of miasma, just like people judge me for looking like her. Rem fell silent, realization hitting her hard. She still wanted to accuse Subaru, but the truth was undeniable. She had tried to kill an innocent man based on nothing but assumption. Rem, apologize to Zero, Amelia ordered. Rem gulped, struggling to look Subaru in the eye. A simple apology won't cut it, Reina said coldly. Lord Rosewall, what is your decision? Rosewall's smile faltered. Rem, from this moment on, you are banished from the Mather's mansion. Do not show your face here again. Rem stood frozen, her heart dropping. But Lord Rosewall, Ram protested, only for Rosewall's glare to silence her. Biting her lip, she looked away, unable to meet her sister's eyes. Rem's face paled, horror overtaking her. Banished. For attempting murder, she should be executed. Reina added without hesitation. No, Ram shouted instantly, but Reina's cold gaze made her flinch. If that is your will, Miss Reina, Rosewall said, his voice flat, then Rem shall be executed. Rem lowered her head, biting her lips hard enough to draw blood. Tears welled in Ram's eyes. She rushed forward and dropped to her knees in front of Subaru. Sir, no, Lord Zero. Please spare my sister, I beg of you. Miss Reina, isn't this too harsh? Shouldn't she just apologize and accept punishment? Amelia pleaded. She didn't have the best relationship with the maids, but she couldn't bear to see someone die. Subaru turned to her. Let me ask you, Amelia, what would Puck do if someone tried to kill you, simply because you looked like the witch? Amelia shuddered. He would kill them. Subaru nodded and turned to Rem, who looked at her sister with teary eyes. Sister, don't beg for me. What I did is unforgivable. I deserve to be punished, she whispered. Before anyone could respond, Subaru stepped forward. I've made my decision. I won't execute Rem, and I won't banish her either. Really? Ram gasped, unable to believe it. Even Rem looked stunned. I believe in second chances, for those who are willing to change. But if it happens again, I won't be so forgiving, he said firmly, eyes locked on Rem. Gratitude bloomed on both sisters' faces, while Reina watched quietly. Lord Zero is far too kind, for this cruel world, she thought. Rosewall forced a smile. I am grateful, Zero, for forgiving Rem. However, Subaru added, I do have a punishment in mind. Rosewall tilted his head. Ooh, do tell. For the next 3 months, she'll serve exclusively as my personal maid. All tasks, only for me. Rosewall's smile vanished. Ram gave Subaru a suspicious glare, wondering if he had ulterior motives. But she could only grit her teeth and stay quiet. No need to worry, Subaru added quickly. I won't ask for anything inappropriate. I find forcing others distasteful. Reina smiled brightly and nodded. Lord Zero speaks the truth. Ram relaxed a little. A pang of guilt hit her for doubting him. HMPH. If that's settled, then Betty shall return to her library, I suppose. Beatrice said, disappearing with a flash. Amelia let out a relieved sigh and gave Subaru a warm, grateful look. Amelia is too kind and innocent for this world. So, Lord Rosewall, Subaru said with a smirk. Satisfied. Rosewall's face remained frozen. He could only wonder what fresh torment awaited him next. Ahem. Since everything's been handled, Reina said suddenly, drawing everyone's attention, there's one thing I must clarify. What is it? Subaru asked. Why do you call me Lord Zero? There's no need for that, he said, confused. It is only right that I address my future lord with respect, Reina said. Then, to everyone's shock, she dropped to one knee before him. Lord Zero, I, Reina van Astria, hereby offer myself as your knight. Even Rosewall's eyes widened. What are you saying, Reina? Subaru asked, stunned. She smiled gently. As I said, Lord Zero, I wish to serve as your knight. She had done it, she had made her choice. To be continued. Another reason I wasn't using I, was because it made the chapter shorter, but well I guess you all deserve short chapters. 27 comments 0 vote. 16 Subaru avoided a bad ending. Third Pav. Why do you want to become my knight? Subaru asked confused. He knew Reina for a short period of time and even if they had become close to each other as friends, it didn't made sense. Don't tell me she had fallen in love with me. He thought shocked at his speculation, but then decided to not go overboard. Well, it's definitely a possibility, there might be other reasons. Meanwhile, Rosewall looked at kneeling Reina disbelief wondering, who is he? Where is he? What the fuck just happened? Well, not that extreme, but he was definitely surprised. He clenched his fists. If she is to become his knight, all my plans will fail, he thought with a grim face. Lady Reina, your decision to accept Sir Zero as your lord is a very bad idea. He doesn't even belong to nobility, while you are the heir of respected Astria family. On top of that, you are the current sword saint. If you were to accept a commoner as your master, it would definitely cause concern among the nobility. They won't even allow such a thing to happen. He quickly tried to make her change her mind. I don't need your opinion, clown. I wish to serve Lord Zero as his loyal knight. It's my decision regardless of the consequences, she replied, making Rosewall's eyebrows twitch. This doesn't even make sense. She was supposed to become that gutter rat's knight. Subaru meanwhile couldn't help but glance at Rosewall, who was trying his best to prevent Reina from becoming his knight. To be honest, this is an extremely lucrative offer. With Reina as my knight, I won't have to die again. With her power and my intelligence, I could solve anything, but it will certainly cause problems for her, he thought. It wouldn't have been much of a big deal if Reina had sworn her fealty to one of the candidates for the throne. However, for someone of her stature to swear fealty to a noble, much less a commoner, can shake the entire kingdom. She was sword saint for a reason, the kingdom's trump card. If she were to swear her fealty to a commoner, and an outsider nonetheless, will bring her position into trouble. Miss Reina, why do you want to become my knight? He finally asked. Let's say even if she loves me, this is too far-fetched. Reina blushed. To be honest, she wondered how to stalk Zero follow him, without any problem. Then an idea came to her mind. What if she becomes his knight? If she was to become his knight, she will be able to stay with him forever. However, she knew she couldn't tell her selfish reason, and in the presence of a great spirit she couldn't lie either. I think Lord Zero is someone worth giving my loyalty to, she replied, and he sighed. If I can say yes, I will definitely avoid 90% of shit that will happen in future. But it is wrong, I cannot put her into this position yet, Subaru thought, and decided what to do. I am quite moved by your offer, however. I refuse, he said, surprising Rem and Ram. Since they knew what he had declined, he basically turned down the offer to become the Lord of Astria family's heir and the kingdom's sharpest blade. Before you ask me, why? I don't deserve to be your liege. At least not yet, he said truthfully. It was an enticing offer. Having Reina would solve nearly all of his problems, but he cannot do it selfishly. As of now, as much as he hates to admit Rosewall's words, he is just a commoner. However, it can change in future. If nothing goes wrong, the White Whale and the Witch Cult will attack, and by getting rid of them by himself, he can prove himself. At least Reina will have a valid reason to swear her fealty. Reina's mood dropped hearing the rejection. What if he gets in danger again? Should I just lock him up? That way no one will be able to harm again. And I will be able to be with him forever. A dangerous thought came in her mind. However, it dissolved the moment she received a head pat. An expression of pure joy appeared on her face as Arthur patted her head. I am really moved by your offer, however it will be selfish of me to accept it without considering the consequences you might face, he said in a soft tone. Now, don't kneel before me, and also no need to call me Lord, you can call me just Zero and treat me as your friend, he said with a smile, and she stood up, blushing. She wanted to say she wanted to be more than his friend but kept the thought to herself. Ah, how good it'd be if he only smiles for me, another dangerous thought bubbled up in her mind. Thankfully, Subaru avoided a bad ending. Phew, to be continued. I won't edit my chaps with AI anymore. Yeah, you might get a bit bad grammar, however everything will be explained in detail, and less plot holes. Also, give power stones to my Donmachi FIC, or no bonus chaps. 17 comments 0 vote. 17 all hail Tato's bonus chap. ... Third person Pav. Rosewall gazed at the food laid out before him. The dish was an artistic monstrosity, and its stench singed his nostrils. He could do nothing but stare in stunned silence. Amelia hesitated, eyeing the food with uncertainty. Puck floated beside her and warned, Leah, I don't think it's a good idea. He abruptly paused, noticing his daughter had already taken a bite. Her face grew pale as she struggled to swallow the food, and promptly collapsed to the floor. Leah, stay with me, please, Puck cried, frantically shaking her unresponsive form. You wretched Oni, what kind of poison did you put in this food? He screamed at Ram, who merely huffed in response. I have prepared only the best food, of course. Miss Amelia must be unwell for some other reason, she replied coolly, then turned her gaze to Rosewall. Rosewall-sama, please eat the food, she said, eyes gleaming with anticipation, while the clown could only weep internally. Ram wasn't just lazy, her culinary skills were in the negative. She had likely tossed in random ingredients without rhyme or reason and, voila, an unspeakable dish had been born. I can do this. I must revive Lady Echidna. I cannot falter now. Rosewall thought, eyes blazing with resolve as he lifted a spoonful of the so-called soup to his lips. His face went completely blank. Without hesitation, he set the spoon down, reached into the void, and produced a paper bag from God's new where, before vomiting directly into it. Ram looked on with concern and asked, Lord Rosewall, are you unwell too? Finishing his bout of nausea, Rosewall stared blankly at the ceiling, lifeless. It's over. I won't be able to revive you, sensei. My boy's already dead inside. Suddenly, a delightful aroma wafted through the room. Amelia, who had been half dead on the floor, abruptly sprang up, shocking Puck with her miraculous recovery. She inhaled deeply, visibly drooling at the smell. Even Rosewall seemed to regain the will to live. To their astonishment, Zero entered the room, followed by Rem, who carried a tray filled with covered dishes. Good morning, Amelia, and to you as well, Lord Rosewall, he greeted as he sat down. Rem placed the tray on the table and lifted the cloches with grace. A heavenly aroma spread throughout the room, and both Amelia and Rosewall stared, captivated and salivating. An assortment of side dishes surrounded the centerpiece, roasted chicken, golden and crispy. Rem sliced a lemon and squeezed the juice onto the chicken, the sizzle only enhancing its appeal. Amelia stared at Zero's dish, then glanced at her own. The difference was like night and day, an unbridgeable gulf. Ah, Amelia, would you like to eat with me? Subaru offered kindly. Can I? Isn't that your food? She asked hesitantly. You're my friend, right? He replied, and she nodded sweetly. And friends share good things with each other, don't they? Of course you can eat with me. Tears welled up in her eyes. Zero, you're not just my friend, you're my best friend, she declared. Puck looked on in betrayal. His daughter had forsaken him, for food. Amelia wasted no time in dragging her chair beside Zero and happily began to eat with him. Suddenly, Rosewall piped up. Sir Zero, a minute your friend too. Why don't you share your food with me? Zero shook his head with a polite smile. Lord Rosewall, you are a nobleman. I'm just a humble commoner. How could I be worthy of such friendship? Rosewall's eyebrow twitched, while Ram nodded approvingly. Indeed, Rosewall-sama, he speaks the truth. Besides, I prepared these lavish dishes especially for you. Lavish, more like ravaging. They're going to ravage my insides. He thought bitterly. Ahem, it seems I am unwell, Ram. I don't feel like eating today, he said, glancing enviously at Amelia and Zero. Is that so? I've made boiled potatoes for myself, perhaps something lighter would suit you better. She offered, eyes filled with worry. Rosewall's face lit up. Yes, I would love boiled potatoes, he declared enthusiastically. Soon, Rem returned with a bowl of boiled potatoes from the kitchen. The sight of them nearly brought tears to Rosewall's eyes. I love potatoes, they are the best thing in the world, all hail potatoes, he thought ecstatically. That day, Rosewall discovered his new favorite dish. Just as planned. A.N. All hail potatoes. To be continued. A.N. I have decided to keep using AI, at least with my this FIC as it isn't messing with my plot. Of course after editing with I will do a short proofreading fixing any mistake that might exist, or paragraphs that might need to be lengthened. By the way, thanks for reminding me about the mistake I made in my previous chap. Apparently originally the line was, I am Sin Archbishop, representing Pride, Zero, however I messed up the line and by mistake I wrote Subaru's real name. I have fixed it on both the chaps. I have also fixed up the earlier chaps where characters spoke Subaru's real name by mistake. Another bonus chap is coming. Peace out. 7 comments 0 vote. 18 spirits bonus chap. ... Third person Pav. You want to form a contract with spirits? Amelia asked Subaru, who nodded and replied, yes. I can only use shadow and earth magic right now, but if I make contracts with spirits, I'll be able to use all types of magic. Rem, who stood silently behind them, said nothing. It had barely been a few hours since her attempt to murder Zero. Suddenly, Reina appeared in front of them. Reina, that divine protection of yours sure comes in handy, Subaru remarked with a hint of envy. Reina had just returned from her mansion after having breakfast. Hey Reina, I haven't had the chance to ask yet, how is Felt doing? She'll need support from a noble house to even qualify for the royal selection, right? He asked, curious about Felt's fate now that she no longer had the Sword Saint to back her, like in the original timeline. You need not worry about her. In fact, I overheard my father speaking with her. According to my divine protection of probability prediction, if nothing goes wrong, my father will become her sponsor, she said, her voice faltering slightly as she uttered the word, father. Is that so? Subaru rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Also, maid, are you behaving? Reina directed her gaze at Rem, who visibly shivered upon meeting Reina's eyes. Zero quickly stepped in, no need to worry, Reina. She hasn't tried anything suspicious. Reina's hostility softened, and Rem let out a quiet sigh of relief. She cast a grateful glance toward Subaru, guilt bubbling inside her for what she had tried to do to him. Reina, could you teach me swordsmanship? Subaru asked. I would be more than happy to assist you. Reina answered, her eyes lighting up. Watching their exchange, Amelia couldn't help but pout. Miss Reina, Zero will learn spirit arts first. Reina's expression darkened as she glared at Amelia. This witch, how dare she try to steal my time with Lord Zero? Her hand slowly crept toward the hilt of her sword, until she was interrupted by another head pat. Sorry, Reina, Subaru said gently. But I already asked Amelia to teach me spirit arts before you arrived. Once I've made contracts with the spirits and checked out some spells, I'll start learning swordsmanship from you. Reina nodded, basking in the warmth of his hand. For some reason, she had the strong urge to purr. After that, Amelia began teaching him how to call spirits, which, apparently, boiled down to just doing it. How am I supposed to call spirits if she doesn't tell me how to call them? Subaru thought, side-eyeing Amelia, who was beaming at him with a clueless smile. It turned out that you simply had to wait for the spirits to approach you on their own. After a few minutes, several spirits appeared near the garden's edge, but they didn't come closer. Why aren't they approaching? Subaru asked. I think I know why, Puck replied. It's because of Miss Sword Saint over there. Her presence distorts the mana around us. That might be the issue, he added. Reina's eyes widened. Sorry, I totally forgot. Let me activate my divine protection, there we go. As soon as she did, the spirits rushed toward Subaru, circling him and touching him curiously and affectionately. They're lesser spirits, newly formed beings of mana. To make a contract with them, you'll need to offer some of your mana and, if possible, an anchor, Amelia explained. Subaru nodded and examined the spirits surrounding him. He reached out and gently held the lesser light spirit he felt most connected to. Would you like to make a contract with me? He asked. The spirit danced joyfully in response, while the others looked on in envy. Very well, you, and you, and you. Including this guy, let's make a contract, he said cheerfully. He selected one spirit each from fire, water, wind, and light. Once the contracts were complete, the 4 spirits danced around him happily. So cute, he thought, watching them. Meanwhile, the remaining spirits nudged him, hoping for a contract as well. Sorry, little ones, but I won't be making any more contracts, he said gently. They slowed, expressing their sadness. He felt bad, but he didn't want to build an entire army of spirits. He only wanted to form contracts with the ones necessary. Zero, is there any harm in contracting with more of them? Amelia asked, noticing the dejected spirits. They look so sad. Indeed, Puck added, lesser spirits don't have much mana individually, having more of them helps with that. But Subaru shook his head. If my only goal was to become a mage or spirit arts user, I would have done that. But I'm aiming to become a magic swordsman, he explained. The other spirits, realizing he wouldn't contract with them, eventually dispersed. The 4 contracted spirits stayed close by. All right, let's head into the forest and test the magic, Subaru said excitedly. Natural spirits could draw mana from their surroundings, so they didn't require their contractor's mana to cast spells. Fura, Subaru began with wind magic, unleashing a slash of wind that cleanly severed a tree trunk. Damn, and I didn't even use any of my own mana, he marveled, glancing at the lesser wind spirit. That was impressive, Zero. Reina applauded, praising him. That's a good attack spell, Amelia commented, but you can also use it for defense. Indeed, one spell can be used in multiple ways, Puck added. Now, let me teach you fire magic. He stepped forward. Let's start with ice, it uses the chant suffix huma. Subaru nodded and chanted, huma. A thin layer of ice formed in front of him as the mana responded. It's fire magic, but it creates ice projectiles, Puck chuckled at the irony. Well, fire magic is more about manipulating temperature than simply creating fire. You can increase temperature to produce flames or decrease it to generate ice, he patiently explained. Yes, sensei. Good. Now try the fire-based version. The suffix is Goa. Goa, Subaru shouted, and a blazing flame erupted from his hand. Puck quickly dispelled it to prevent the forest from catching fire. Now let's try water magic. Its chant is Shia, Shia, Subaru chanted, and a blue, spherical wave of water enveloped him. As for light magic, the suffix is Jiwald. Jiwald. Upon chanting, beams of concentrated heat shot from Subaru's fingertips. Excellent. Now you know the basic chants. The spell's power will vary depending on the prefix, as I taught you earlier, Puck said, pausing briefly before continuing. There are also some rarer chants for each magic type, which I don't know. You should ask Betty about those. And one last thing, once you reach a certain level of proficiency, you won't even need to chant. Yes, as Puck said, Amelia added. With enough skill, you can bypass chanting, but since you only have an affinity for yin and earth, you'll only be able to skip chants for those. Indeed, Puck agreed. To bypass chants for other elements, you'll need to contract with higher spirits. But finding a true spirit, or even a quasi-spirit, is incredibly difficult. Subaru nodded, deep in thought. Only my yin and earth magic consumes my mana, for everything else, my spirit's mana is used. Now, the real question, where are you going to keep these spirits? Puck asked with a sly grin, knowing Subaru had nowhere to store them. Well, I guess I'll just let them float around M. Subaru stopped mid-sentence as the spirit of light touched his body and vanished. Wait, where did you go? He asked, startled. The spirit reappeared briefly, then touched him again and disappeared. The others quickly followed, vanishing into him as if being absorbed. This is unusual, they're using you as their anchor, Reina observed, narrowing her eyes and activating her divine blessing of spirit eyes. She could see the spirits now residing inside his body. I get it now, Puck exclaimed. Your spirit affinity is so absurdly high that you can act as a human anchor. Really? Subaru blinked in surprise. He'd known humans could be used as anchors, but it depended on the spirit if it had the capability to use human as an anchor. Let me confirm, Puck said, pressing his tail to Subaru's forehead. Fascinating. If I'm right, you won't even need to summon them externally to use magic. They're acting as pseudo-gates for you. You can even use their mana to cast shadow and earth magic, and vice versa. Rem, who had been silently observing from the background, gasped in shock. Her eyes widened in horror as the realization struck her. Subaru was essentially a weaker version of Rosewall. As expected of Zero, Reina beamed, fangirling hard. Subaru blushed from the unexpected praise. The Sword Saint is praising me, man, I don't even know what to say. Now that I've finished learning the basics of magic, he said, it's time to move on to swordsmanship. So, Miss Reina-sensei, I'll be in your care. Hearing him call her sensei, pride swelled within Reina, and she puffed her chest confidently. Do not worry, Zero. I'll make you a knight better than Julius. To be honest, if you weren't the Sword Saint, I would have thought you were just boasting, Subaru chuckled. After thanking Amelia, he returned to the garden alongside Reina to begin their training. To be continued. Another AI-edited chap. I tried my best but it still shortened the chap by 150 to 200 words. 16 comments 0 vote. 19 my 0. Comma. 3rd POV. Stab // Subaru relentlessly attacked Reina, however she easily deflected his attacks, not even moving an inch from her place. He hastened the speed of his attacks, but with a stab, Reina threw his wooden sword away. He panted and fell on the ground. Another defeat. Damn Reina, you are so good in swords. A tint of blush appeared on her face hearing his compliment. Due to her divine protection she knew it was a genuine compliment from him, and hearing it from him made her extremely happy. Not only that, you are also good in teaching, I can't believe it. I am already fighting like a pro. And it has been like what? 4 hours since we began. He said. It's because Zero, you have a decent talent in swordsmanship. I think it's less only than a few knights such as Sir Julius, and you also learn things and adapt to the situation very quickly, she said. But your teaching talent is also excellent. It is as if everything you are teaching is getting embedded in my brain and body, he said, and she grinned. It's because I have the divine protection of the teaching, which makes me the best teacher. She wasn't lying. Due to her divine protection and Natsuki's enhanced talents, he was already at the level of normal knight. His true prowess though had reached the level of an elite knight due to his immense speed, quick reaction, superhuman senses. According to my calculations, if we continue for a few days like this, you should be able to reach the level of an elite knight in terms of swordsmanship, she said. His eyes widened, shocked at his own progress. He looked at her with immense gratitude. After this I will be strong enough to not die randomly. Thank you, Reina, you are my hero for real, he said, and her heart thumped. Her heartbeat became erratic, she felt butterflies in her stomach, a euphoria took over her. It was love, your hero. Then if that's the case, then I shall be your hero, she thought with determination. Master Zero, as much as I hate to disturb you both, it is already past lunchtime. I have prepared food for you and Lady Amelia, who is waiting for you, said Rem, breaking their moment. Is that so? Reina, would you like to join us? He asked her, and she shook her head. Unfortunately, I would have to return to mansion. He sighed and hugged her before saying bye to her, and she left. Master, now please follow me, said Rem, and he nodded, glancing at the place from where she teleported. Let's go, comma. Returning to Astria Mansion, in her own room, she couldn't help but smile. Suddenly a blush appeared on her face and she thought with a love-struck look. Hero, ah, he called me a hero, I am his hero, he patted me, he hugged me, she said in a sweet tone before jumping on her bed and rolling holding the pillow. Zero, I love you, she muttered holding the pillow imagining him smiling at her. However, at that moment a knock sounded at the door. Reina, are you there? Hearing the voice, her mood instantly plummeted and she came and opened the door revealing a man. He was a muscular man, with short red hair, blue eyes and stubble beard. What were you doing in your room for hours? Why didn't you go on patrolling today? He asked angry, looking at her as if looking at filth. I was reading a book, father, her voice strained as she uttered out the word, father. He snorted and said, anyway, come with me. I have something to tell you. She nodded and followed him. He said, listen, I have decided to support that Gu felt in the royal selection. She is the best candidate for us to get the dragon blood. Lady Crush is too rigid and she might deny the dragon blood itself due to her ideology. Lady Anastasia meanwhile is too scheming for my taste. Lady Priscilla is too arrogant and she even called me servant, me. The current successor of Astria family. As for that last candidate, half-elf. He snorted. Choosing her will mean losing, after all who would want a half-elf as their ruler? Now, while Felt is from the slums, we can do a total makeover of her in 1 month and with Astria family's support she has got a solid chance. I see potential in her. He grinned at the end as they stopped before a door. So, you can see potential in her. And cannot even spare a glance to your own daughter? She thought sarcastically, her eyes dimmed before regaining their light as she recalled a smiling Subaru. However, she will need a knight, and that's where yo. Before he could finish his sentence Reina said, I refuse. He was stunned. It was the first time his daughter has refused his orders. What did you say? His eyes became cold, as he towered over her frame and glared at her. Not a bit fearful she said, as I said, I refuse father. He broke into laughter. Do not make me repeat myself. Are you so ungrateful that you cannot give your loyalty away for your mother? You scum, he spat, looking at her with hatred and disgust. Her heart broke seeing that look, however she stood firm and looked into his eyes. My answer is same, I refuse. He rose his palm, ready to hit her, you ungrateful bitch. Stop. His hand stopped midair and his face became pale as he was glared by an angry Felt with her arms crossed. Princess, why are you outside? We were just about to meet you, he said a bit nervously. Since he had accepted to sponsor her, it meant her position was higher than his. She was a royal candidate after all. Sir Heinkel, what were you going to do just right now? She asked, demanding an explanation. Princess, this daughter of mine refused to take oath as your knight despite knowing whom the Astria family is supporting. He said. She turned towards Reina and asked, Miss Reina, are you okay? To which Reina gave a nod. If she doesn't want to become my knight, there is no need to force her, and isn't it disgusting for you to force your own daughter to do something unwilling? She questioned. Daughter, she is a fucking curse to me. Because of her my wife went to coma and my mother died. It's all this bitch's fault. And now that I am giving her opportunity to redeem herself, she is refusing me. He shouted his grievances. Felt was shocked, not by what Felt did but how Heinkel treated her daughter. Heinkel, you disgust me, she said and his eyebrows twitched. I disgust you. This is all this bitch's fault. And remember, you are a gutter rat. Without my support you are nothing. He spat in anger, however seeing Felt's moist eyes his face became pale. I am a gutter rat, huh? Fine, I don't need you to sponsor me. I can become the queen by myself, she said turning around and walking away in anger. And no princess, wait, I apologize for my words, he said panicked, then he glared at Reina before going to Felt, trying to fix up his mistake. Reina stood there for a moment, silent. Her emotions a mess, she turned around and walked, her steps hastened and soon she was running. Reaching her room, she got inside and closed the door with a thud before falling on her knees and breaking into tears. Her father insulted her, he called her a bitch again. Did she have no value in his eyes? Yes, she wanted to save her mother too. However, she had already made up her mind to accept Zero as her lord. Did her wishes not matter to him at all? In fact, she wasn't against supporting Felt, she only wanted to accept Zero as her lord. Recalling the gentle figure of her father from her past, she even cried louder. She acted tough, she acted cold and distant, She acted as a perfect knight, however in the end she was just a girl. The words her father said hurt her deeply, she gritted her teeth. Negative emotions flooded her mind, her father's curses, her grandfather's look of hatred, everyone's look of disappointment during that day, the scared looks of Felix and Julius. She started panting, clutching her heart, she was drowning. "You are my hero, Reina." Like a ray of light cutting through darkness, the words reached her heart. "Sir Zero," she muttered, her breathing becoming calmer. "I still have him, even if the world rejects me I know he won't, he is just that kind," she thought and a smile appeared on his face. She wiped her tears and she willed to acquire a divine protection. Soon a picture of Subaru appeared in her hands and she moved it closer to her face, and kissed it. "Ah, my Zero," her Yandere stage had just begun. To be continued. This chapter is unedited by AI, cause for some reason AI was rewriting in like 700 words. A 1500 words chap into 700 words.